is
OTB.
Sport Ireland campus, and here is where it all starts.
And this is where it all starts. Good morning to you. OTB AM, Friday morning. Adrian here, Eoin there, and Colm there. Morning, lads.
How are you, Adrian?
How are you, lads?
How's it going?
Very well.
Yeah, jeez, that was a bit
How
of
are
a
you,
slow
Colm?
out of the blocks.
I'll go first.
I was waiting for Eoin
Man's
because
having a drink. He sat there for like 10 minutes just fluting about doing nothing.
no, I was actually waiting for Eoin to go first this week because last week you gave me the floor. I was just being generous to Eoin because no one ever asks Eoin how he is. Everyone just presumes Eoin's always great, always on form, always ready to go. We
And
never
they would be
really
right.
ask you how you are.
They would be right, wouldn't
Okay,
they?
Eoin.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
never
right.
not on form.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
There's so
Friday.
much going on. There's so much to get through. There's lots of stuff that, like, any of it we kind of leaded the show stuff this morning, but we do need to lead off with events in Istanbul, and a lot of the photographs, the newspapers have sort of picked up on this in various ways, and I don't really want to I know that people are kind of a little bit annoyed about the fact that it wasn't on the TV, and that's probably right, but I think sometimes we're guilty of having those conversations at the expense of actually talking about the stuff itself. So we'll do that in a second, and we are hoping at some point, possibly this morning, and then possibly a bit later on, that we might actually have one of the boxers on the line. So as soon as they're ready, we'll be ready for them, and we'll see what happens on that front. Some of the papers have really missed the boat. Having said all that about not talking about the media, the Sun being one of them, it's not on the front page, and it's sort of tucked away there a little bit on the top page of that, and then just the other extreme of it is the Irish Independent. Fair play to you this morning on the front page, if I can get that in shot there. Brilliant scenes from the ring yesterday, and it was quite the achievement from Team Ireland at the World Championships. It was 3 gold medals that we'd ever won at this level prior to that, in the shape of Kelly Harrington and Katie Taylor on the women's side, and Michael Conlon then on the men's side, and Amy Broadhurst and Lisa O'Rourke. Congratulations to both of you this morning. Incredible achievements, really. As I said, only 3 others before them, and loads of firsts as well. First time to win 2 golds at 1 championships. First time that boxers went into the ring for finals after each other. Only the 4th and 5th ever, and also the comprehensiveness of the wins. Both fighters, it should be acknowledged, well brought through by Bernard Dunn in advance of the Olympic training camp last year, and up to this level at least, Amy Broadhurst has been on the scene for quite some time, and Lisa much less so, but just incredible stuff, brilliant scenes, lovely photographs, a real feel-good boxing story, which, like, Irish boxing has never been on such a pedestal.
No, like I know, Gavin Casey was on the show last night, and he had in this piece as well that they'll take home €86,000 in prize money, and then on top of that, obviously, you have the base level of Sport Ireland funding, which is guaranteed now because they've medalled at a major championships, €40,000 in funding. Those sorts of things are significant, and they're significant on a number of fronts. They're significant, obviously, for their day-to-day life, and also for keeping them in the system, and the lights of professional boxing, which have been so brilliantly illuminated over the last little while, might become a little less attractive, and there might be more opportunities for Ireland to win medals over the course of the next few Olympic Games as a result of that success yesterday as well. Obviously, the question around who goes to Paris, what weight divisions people will be fighting at, is actually a really complicated question, and we're unsure what knock-on impact this will have in Paris. So this is about yesterday and what yesterday represents, and the fact that they've gone from 3 to 5 in the space of, what was it, half an hour of action yesterday? An hour of action yesterday. It goes down as one of the greatest 45 minutes or whatever it was in the history of Irish boxing. So, and it's just an absolutely phenomenal week, actually. And when you kind of chart back through some of the career paths of these fighters, I'd completely forgotten about the robbery of in New Delhi a few years ago of Amy Broadhurst, and the judging decision to award, when her opponent hit the deck, to award that as a slip, and even the local Indian media giving out about it at the time. That was like a real setback in the career. And like, I mean, O'Rourke has kind of been a bolt from the blue. Certainly from my perspective, I'm sure boxing writers have been well aware of what she was going to do coming into this championship.
She's so young. She's only just turned 20 as well, so she could be around for a while. And Broadhurst's story is so interesting in the Kelly Harrington, the competitiveness obviously between the two of them, and she's had to step up a little bit in weight to try and make this happen for her. So like, unlikely when you're behind a boxer of that quality that you're going to get those opportunities. So amazing stuff. And as I said, we will hope at some point today, if Colm gets the finger out and puts a bit of pressure on, that we'll get the two fighters on a little bit later on.
Can't promise anything, but I'll try.
It's like, it is it's amazing, just like when you kind of like look through these these stories, kind of the importance of Katie Taylor in all of this, and without trying to hark back to a different fighter, when these two fighters are the ones in the spotlight, just interesting to see that like Broadhurst was in the Connecticut camp with Taylor before the Amanda Serrano fight, because obviously Taylor's camp would have wanted a southpaw fighter to come in and actually fight Taylor beforehand, and that's why Broadhurst was brought in, like, to get that experience. And of course, obviously after 2012, there is this very visible role model, this icon for these boxers as well that exists, and they've actually learned from within and learned from the system that has produced so much success over the last little while. So yes, there is a lot of issues with Irish boxing, but I think yesterday is a day that probably illuminates some of the things that have been done very, very right. Yeah,
they're totally badly served by the administrative level, obviously, and as you say, like, such a shadow cast over the future of the sport at all in this country. If it's going to be absent from the Olympics, they'll struggle to keep it afloat. So we'll see how that pans out over the next while. If you have any words of congratulations, comments, anything like that about our two brilliant world champions, do lash them into us and we'll bring them to our audience. One of the first comments we've had in this morning, Mark Hogan, Han Offaly is a good way to get the...
Mark's there every day saying that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a regular. Good man, Mark.
Gav Sale says, happy to see the crappy quizzes back this week. So
it is.
I need to look forward to on that front later on. Myself versus Tommy versus Arthur.
And can I just say, an exciting new round awaits.
Oh, Jesus. How
many about that
weeks can we have an exciting...
I thought you were excited about this. We discussed how excited you're going to be about this.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Absolute shambles. But it is all up for grabs, I think it's fair enough to say, without casting too much aspersions on the two lads. I think, I nearly feel confident about it. Big scenes in the football last night, including Everton securing their position in the Premier League, and I was watching Aston Villa Burnley, as I'm sure probably lots of other people were as well last night.
So nice.
Frustratingly, not realising actually that the game was on Premier Sports, but there we go. And I also, by the way, I didn't really bother because I saw they were 2-0 down, and I thought, well, sure, that's that. It's all gone to the final day, and they could well be screwed the way things are going, but they've obviously turned it around. And like Lampard, really, I feel that he never sort of gets the credit he deserves, in the sense that, like, when they're going badly, well, Lampard has put them in this position. It's not really, it's up to him to get them out of it. And then when they're going well, like last night, there's a lot of credit for the players. I just felt that, like, credit where it's due. I do think, obviously, like, even looking at the scenes last night, that I think there's a fairly full overhaul needed in that club. Like, I'm assuming that's in the back of fans' minds last night when they're on the pitch celebrating that thing, that, like, it's a big relief moment. But actually the reality is there's so much work needed to be done there.
Well, someone was saying there this morning, I think it was myself and Eoin chatting, that it's the worst Everton squad that you can remember. Like, I think, like, it is a talented squad. Like, if you're having the likes of Donny van de Beek, Dele Alli and Alan on the bench in a do or die match, you're doing something right on paper in terms of the players you're recruiting, but it's just the inability for Everton to find any cohesion at all this season. And I agree with you, Adrian, that I think with Frank Lampard, and I think we're guilty of it too, is there a bit of joy in seeing him suffer a bit? I don't know if that's the kind of feeling towards Lampard. And I like WhatsApp groups last night, people were absolutely delighted at half time that Everton were 2-0 down. The same WhatsApp group an hour later was like expletive-ridden sentiment towards Crystal Palace's inability to see the match out. I mean, it's the first time Everton have ever come from 2-0 down at half time to win a Premier League match. And so Lampard does deserve credit, because when he came in, they were at an extremely low ebb, and he himself has had very low moments, like the 3-2 defeat away to Burnley at Turf Moor back in the start of April. And I remember we were talking about the following day, and we thought, well, that's it for Everton. They're going to go down. But he's rallied the troops. They beat Manchester United. They beat Chelsea. They won away to Leicester. Like, he's had good results with them.
They should have gotten something off the Manchester City game.
Exactly, the penalty that never happened,
and that was in the early Lampard throws, and it does feel like during the Lampard era as if they've had more of a chance in some of those bigger games against the bigger opposition rather than a game like last night. Now, I know they did go on to actually win last night, and it was such a vital 3 points, but I'd love to know, like, where does this season rank for Everton fans? It'll certainly go down as one of the most memorable. And, like, that's what football is all about, like, about creating those sorts of memories. Like, if they're a team for me that are mid-table to 7th all the time, I know that's not a fact. 2003, 2004, they came close to getting relegated as well. But you do have to go back that far to find a similar level of threat for them, like parachuting out of the league. So for fans of a certain age, this will probably be one of the greatest moments as an Everton fan. I know they got to a cup final in 09 as well, but other than that, really there hasn't been anything to shout about, and that's been positive because they've managed to stay away from relegation trouble. But with all the negativity this season, they've allowed themselves to put themselves into a great escape position, and that's just an amazing feeling as a fan. It's like finishing fourth. It's like for Tottenham fans, they probably feel like they'll have a better season now than Chelsea fans will have had, even though Chelsea finished above them. It's like the sense of achievement of actually getting over the line and stumbling over the line. That's a pretty good feeling.
Do you know, I can't help but feel, I agree with all of that, and I can't help but feel when I saw the pitch invasion last night after the match, I was just thinking, Roy Keane won't like this. Like, it's like, what are you celebrating about? Like, look at this. Hold on. Look at the squad you have, and look how you've done this season.
That's
a remarkable underachievement.
There's a joylessness to that nonsense. Honestly, there was a time where I would have understood what you're talking about. We could see some of the scenes last night. I guarantee you, right, no matter what happens at the weekend, there will be no set of fans that will be as happy and celebrate as much as those fans last night. So let's not look at everything through the prism of you have to win. Like, that's bullshit.
It isn't though, right?
No, it isn't though. Come on.
No.
It harks back to a conversation the lads were having in the studio during the week. You can't say that, success is just for one team at the end of the season to win the league and that's it. There's a joylessness to that that you struggle to get out of bed for in the morning.
I agree. I didn't realise this would get you going so much. This is interesting because I was just thinking of the point of view that Everton really have nothing to celebrate other than the fact that it's massive relief. And you look at the celebrations last night, and out of context, you think, geez, if Everton won the league, have they won their first trophy since 1995? Many people would say they could sprint down to the dressing room and be like, geez, we got rid of that.
They have more reason to celebrate.
But celebrate suggests a massive success. Right?
That's an incredible success.
It's relief.
You see, you're using that word to suggest you have to win a medal at the end of it. And
no, not necessarily. If they qualified for the Champions League this season, or even the Europa League, even the Conference League, second last day of the season, that's celebration.
They ain't rushing the pitch. They're not rushing the pitch like that if they qualify for the Champions League. Let's face it.
Why?
Have you ever seen a set of fans rush the pitch because their team qualified for the Champions League? It just doesn't happen.
I understand the fans rushing the pitch because of the relief and joy that they're still in the Premier League and everything. Like, they're one of seven sides never to be relegated from the Premier League, I think. And haven't been relegated in decades, long time. So I understand the fans' joy. But, if you're the players and you're Frank Lampard, I saw him going up to the stands afterwards and hugging the good and the great of Everton past. And I'm thinking, OK, this is great. And he has done a really good job. But at the same time, lads, like, the squad that you have and where you finish in the league, this is a massive underachievement.
The rushing of the pitch has nothing to do with any of those factors. The rushing of the pitch is an absolute
joy.
Outpour of celebration and success.
Relief.
Objective being, of course, but objective being surviving the Premier League for the season, objective achieved. That's success. There's no...
But that's not their remit. That was not their remit when Rafa Benitez took over to stay in the Premier League.
Your remit, what's the phrase about getting punched in the face? Your remit is grand until you get punched in the face.
Mike Tyson's line.
I think there would have been a pitch invasion had Everton qualified for a Champions League because it's Everton.
I agree.
And also it's Goodison Park, which is conducive to a pitch invasion. The reason why we don't see pitch invasions for Champions League qualification is because those stadiums that host Champions League teams you're not able to get onto the pitch. Like, you can't get onto the pitch at Anfield.
But there's also a sentiment, like, honestly, if depending on the circumstances, I give that caveat for sure, right? Because Liverpool maybe get ahead at some point and City are drawing and it looks like suddenly Liverpool are going to go in and the balance may go that way. But if everything goes as expected at the weekend, there won't be any pitch invasion about winning the Premier League. And regardless of, I take your point.
Not because you literally can't. Is it not because, like, Goodison Park is actually... is there anybody out there who can illuminate...
No, but I mean, I do take your point. It's obviously a dinosaur of a stadium and it's easy to get on the pitch.
Great stadium by all accounts.
But what I'm saying is, are we afraid of libeling? Are we libeling the stadium?
Well, all I've heard is good things about the place, to be honest.
No, that doesn't mean the dinosaurs were great. What I'm saying is, like, it was the sentiment at that moment that those players rushed on the pitch. Now, there was some stuff that went on at that game, obviously, in relation to Patrick Vieira afterwards. That was awful, and there was stuff that went on with the Nottingham Forest game the other day with Billy Sharp that was awful, and it's not to condone any of that stuff. But the sentiment, I believe that the sentiment that carried those, like, tens of thousands that we saw on the pitch onto the pitch last night would have been there, no matter if they were at, like, somewhere soulless like the Emirates Zone or some other high profile stadium.
Like, what would your view of the the major sentiment and emotion of those fans being from the outside, did you assume that they're just absolutely thrilled with the job that Frank Lampard has done in the latter few weeks of the season, or would you hypothesise that, well, it's just massive relief, an outpouring of joy?
That's all it is.
Yeah,
That's not a celebration.
I don't think anybody's like.
It's not a celebration.
I don't think it's a celebration.
Will you stop? Jesus, do you?
I'm not. Hold on. I know what you're going to say. Oh, if
This
you
is
come
pure
first,
Roy
you come
Keane.
last.
I
It's
come
not.
from Cork and I have to look at everything through the eyes of Roy Keane.
It's a celebration, Colm. Like,
That
I mean,
is nonsense.
Of course, it's a celebration. Like, it can be a celebration based in relief. Like if you want to get it, if you want to dig down into.
Well, that's what I need.
Nobody's sitting there being like, "Ooh, Frank Lampard, is he better manager than Rafa?"
Do you think there's only one successful team in the Premier League every season?
Never said that.
But I'm asking you the question.
Obviously not. There's success in loads of different ways. Like, for instance, Brighton, I think, have had a very successful second half of the season when they struggled to score at home. And they've only won one home game in the second half of the season. And that's poor. But remember, Graham Potter was shaking his head at the fans around winter time about their booing of a 0-0 draw, I think, at home. And they turned around to have a really good season. I know their home form didn't end up being great. But anyway, I would say that's a successful season for Brighton. He has been playing great football. They comfortably avoided relegation, and they have a good away record. Loads of positives.
Of course,
that's a celebration. That's success. Nowhere near getting your European football titles, domestic cups. That's success.
Are you? Did you just make the point there that Brighton have had a more successful season than Everton? Because that is obvious. Nobody needs to hear that. Like, I mean, that's absolutely obvious.
16 teams, or 15 more teams have had a successful season than Everton.
Exactly. Trying to argue that Everton haven't had a very successful season isn't an argument. Of course they haven't. They almost got relegated.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, that's not even a debate. What are we arguing about?
What we're arguing for is that we're arguing about the fact that Adrian said,
what would Roy say? In his brain now, he's like, what would Roy say?
No, we're arguing about the fact that Adrian is like promoting this massive celebration of goodness, and I'm saying, well, it's a bit unfair on teams above Everton who have had a better than average season, and
because they haven't been able to celebrate.
They have no pitch invasion.
Because they haven't been able to celebrate.
They have no pitch invasion. So
what are they going to do?
They're celebrating their own failure, basically.
Finish mid-table and rush the pitch on the final day. Come on. I'm nearly disappointed in you, Colm, I have to say.
No.
Fergus Keogh says Everton pitch invasion for avoiding relegation. Liverpool a bit disappointed at finishing a point behind City. Yeah, look, I don't know. Nigel Gallagher.
It is all relative. And
Nigel Gallagher saying here, I think the media in the UK give Lampard a lot of unwanted praise, which I find hard to take. Plus
unwanted or undeserved.
Unwarranted. I actually, the point, to be fair, is probably more in relation to the Irish media.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I should have said that.
Or us as a country.
Yeah, I should have said that. Regarding Nigel's point, that is very true. He gets a nice gig from like the likes of BT Sport, where he's a former pundit. They'd be very pro Lampard, and I do think we often go the opposite way, or take joy in the fact that he's an underperformer as a manager. I
was going to ask both of you if you were pitch invaders, but like, this lad is like sitting there ticking the box to go, should I celebrate this? Is this the point at which, I mean, I know everybody else around me is rushing to the pitch. I told you already that I totally understand every single one of those fans running onto the pitch. That's their club. You're just questioning them. Did you? I'm questioning the Lampard and players' sense of achievement this season, when really it's a massive underperformance for Everton as a football club. Having said all that, you have rushed the pitch at a certain point. I have Thomond Park. A Munster victory in 2002 in Europe, maybe quarter-final. Right. And it was I had a good time post-match, as I said to you earlier on in the kitchen. What happened? Come on, tell them. No, I was just I was embracing my fellow fans running around the pitch, and then this young hoodlum was running against me opposite direction. Like, I'm looking at the camera here, so I'm seeing him here. He's like 5 yards away, and this guy's coming over, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to embrace with this stranger about a great Munster victory." Whips the hat off me, runs away. Never saw that beanie again. And I loved that beanie. And I could imagine Colm like skulking back into the stands going, well, that has ruined my day. So if anyone's made moot now for the day. Anyone tuning in from Limerick this morning, circa 2002 Navy beanie. A Munster one. Comment here, please. Munster one? No, it was an unbranded Navy beanie. It's definitely going to be found. I wonder where it is now. Pitch invasions happen all the time, though. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we just see it in football across the water. We're like, wow, because it's so sanitised, you don't normally see it. Is that? Yeah, like, I mean, there's pitch invasions on GAA pitches every single week. Obviously, we don't see it in Croke Park anymore. But like, isn't the half-time kids on the pitch? No, I mean, at full time, like, players are mobbed by
kids looking for autographs and people just.
I don't know if that's a pitch invasion much as no. Look, I don't want to sort of get on the same road as your man here, but there's an excitement for the kids to get on the pitch, as opposed to the team's just won and better get out there. Like there's a bit of the madness about it. It's not like a load of adults sort of running the pitches. It's sort of slightly different vibe to it. Yeah. But I take your point. It's not.
Yeah, I do. I do miss the pitch invasion in Croke Park, but then you do see things like the Billy Sharp situation and that absolute idiot going up to Patrick Vieira last night as well. And think to yourself, well, this is going to ruin everybody's fun. And I presume that was the reason why there is no pitch invasions in Croke Park, is just for the potential.
I think
for
it's an
like
insurance thing. There was a whole lot of insurance claims at some point or another. I rushed it in 2004.
Oh yeah,
after
what a moment!
Infamous, after ourselves and Kerry combined to take over the world.
Yeah.
And there was nobody, it was Plan B mode at that point. Plan B, you remember
what game was Plan B again? Because I was on the pitch for 09 after Kerry won the All-Ireland.
It was a policy at that time that once Plan A went to shit, it was like, right, we can't hold them.
There was one very famous moment though where Plan B was like the first one. I think, I can't remember if I was in the stadium or watching it at home, but there was one where there was definitely the beginning of Plan B, and then they just managed to get a grip on it. They obviously put up better security on all the stands to have the netting on the front few rows and all that.
Better quality of steward is what you're saying. It's full back 80,000 people.
That was an unforgiving job, wasn't it? Without the barriers to actually try and hold off thousands of Tyrone fans or Armagh fans and try and keep them at bay. Obviously the Kerry fans would be very polite and you're telling us to stay in the stand? No problem, we will sit down here.
Right. That moment of mad, joyous chaos when you're on the pitch, you've lost the people you've come with, but you're hugging strangers and you're looking for players, and that for me was probably the highlight of anything I've ever been at. And there was just no sense that anybody was going to. There was people who were creeping down the stairs as we were approaching sort of full time. You're creeping down the stairs to get your position. You told a story before as well about, was it Croke Park?
Yeah, well, Croke Park 2009, the last time I remember invading a pitch, and when you talk about the technical phrase of your pitch invasion, after Kerry had beaten Cork handily again in an All-Ireland football final, I think I'd contracted swine flu that morning. So I was kind of running onto the pitch in a haze, dizzy, and I don't think I even stayed for the trophy presentation. I was like, I just got to get out of here. I feel like I'm going to die.
I missed all the celebrations. Get on the pitch.
Yeah, I missed all the celebrations that week as well because I was bedbound for a week.
Wow.
Terrible.
A few comments coming in. Well said, Colm, says Colm's mother.
Yeah, well said,
says Colm's mother here. Says Alan.
Alan, my mother.
Jesus Colm, whatever. Edward, Colm is some killjoy. Why is someone with no idea about why do we don't?
Hold on a minute. Let me read out the comments. Comments. Flying Hellfish. Jesus Colm, outwitted by the man who voted to have the monorail in Athlone.
Did it? Here, come on, look at your running order there. Come on.
Are you dipping into this?
Colm is some killjoy. Why is someone with no idea about sport on a sports show? Everton fans were 100% right to celebrate last night. The club have an entire off-season to review the season. Nice one for including this, says Colm. Robert says, no Gilroy, ... We all know how that concludes. And Damo says, Everton achieved 0 of their objectives for the season. That's definition of unsuccessful. Doesn't mean they can't celebrate avoiding disaster. And I think that is nail on the head stuff.
What are you pointing at me to do? To come
read the running order, please.
Talk to you about tennis?
Yeah. Well, we need to go. We have Kathleen McNamee waiting.
Right. Well, will we wait for the tennis for later on then? Or do you want to...
No, we'll do it now quickly.
Go on. The producer has vetoed everything else. Go on. What's French Open draw?
The French Open draw happened yesterday. Tournament starts on Sunday. It's very briefly on the men's side, very interesting. Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz have all been drawn on the same side of the draw, which means that we could get a Nadal versus Djokovic quarter-final. It's quite early. And Alcaraz, if he beats Alexander Zverev in the quarter-final, would meet either Nadal or Djokovic in the semi-final. It means that Stefanos Tsitsipas, the Greek who reached the final last year, who actually won the first 2 sets against Djokovic in that final, he should get to a second consecutive final because he's on the other side of the draw, which is very winnable for him. His biggest threat there would be Daniil Medvedev, who's the world number 2, but is not a great clay court player. So Tsitsipas should get to the final, and then it's 1 of 3 between Nadal, Djokovic and Alcaraz on the other side of the draw. So we could get a blockbuster quarter final there, Nadal, Djokovic. Only thing with Nadal is struggling badly with his ankle. Djokovic won the Italian Open last week. He will be my odds-on favourite to win this tournament. Carlos Alcaraz, on current form, is the best player in the world. He beat Nadal and Djokovic back-to-back a couple of weeks ago, but best of 5 sets is a different story altogether. Those are best of 3 set matches. So a lot to look forward to on the men's side. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek's world number 1. She's won her last 5 tournaments in a row. She's also the 2020 French Open champion, where she beat Sophia Kenin in that showdown. Is the clear favourite here to win this whole tournament. The only way she won't is if she gets injured. And in terms of an interesting first round draw, you have Naomi Osaka, of course, the great Osaka, who's won 4 Grand Slams already, 2 Australian Opens, 2 US Opens. She's playing Amanda Anisimova in the first round. Those two met at the Australian Open earlier this year, where Osaka lost that match in a titanic 3-set battle. She lost in a 3rd set tiebreak. Of course, the French Open last year is where Osaka pulled out after her first round victory, citing her mental health exhaustion. So she's back now to play the French Open. She's never gone beyond the 3rd round, but that would be a great first round tie.
Well, I, for one, look forward to the tennis updates over the next, how many weeks?
2 weeks starting Sunday.
Yeah, really looking forward to that, Colm, as you know.
I can sense it in your voice, yeah.
Keep an eye out for you. Right, OTB AM, it is 5 to 8, brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Here's what's happening in the show between now and 10 this morning. We've Kathleen McNamee standing by in just a couple of moments' time. We're going to talk to Kathleen about the Champions League final and look back, of course, on last weekend's epic FA Cup final, a few more other pieces as well. Quick picks with, who do we have on the line this morning? Will and...
No, Tommy. No Will or Ashling, but they sent their picks in.
Right.
It's a triple threat.
And we have a leaderboard, I believe.
We do indeed.
Today, yeah, very good. JD will be along. It says sports pages there. I think that's going to be mainly PGA Championship chat
PGA
after
Championship
round
chat,
1. Good stuff. That's at 8:30. Ronan O'Gara live on the line at 10 to 9 this morning. So again, any questions for him? An unbelievably interesting time again for the La Rochelle head coach. So he'll be live on the line at 10 to 9 if you have any questions for him. Live crappy quiz at 10 past 9. And then Gavan Casey of the 42 was in conversation with Will on the show last night about our 2 boxing heroes in Istanbul. So you'll have plenty more of that coming your way a little later on. And if, as I said a bit earlier on, at some point during the morning we manage to make contact with both or either of the boxers, we'll bring them to you as well. So that's the story. That's where we're at. Stay with us. Keep your comments coming in. Plenty of them this morning. Delighted to say, though, that first up we have from the Koi Gig Pod, Kathleen McNamee. Good morning, Kathleen.
Morning, guys.
How are you keeping?
I'm doing well. I was enjoying the chat there, for everything from Everton to Kathleen's waiting for you. It sounded like I was the principal or something sitting outside the door.
Listen, you know, with that individual, when you're told what to do, you got to hop. We've a lot to get through here. We talk a little bit about the Champions League final maybe to begin with, and it's such an interesting pairing with Lyon and Barcelona, a repeat of the final that was also in Budapest in 2019, and Barcelona with a real score to settle.
Yeah, they really do. I think, Barcelona have talked about that final and how it was basically decided by half-time, as much as these things can be. And on the plane, on the way back from Budapest afterwards, they had this big team meeting and they said, we don't ever want to feel like this again. We don't want to have this sort of match again. And since then, they've been pretty incredible. Their record speaks for itself. The trebles, they went 30 for 30 in the league this year. And Lyon have faltered since then. They're still an incredible team with incredible players, but they've seen a lot of their record runs break in. They've seen PSG come in and take a league title off them. It's because it's kind of like the new kids on the block versus the old dynasty who are still amazing, and I just don't know which way it's going to go. We've seen with Barcelona this season, they're not always at their best away from home when they come against teams. We saw it against Wolfsburg, Real Madrid a couple of times when they played them away. They still beat them, but it was a lot closer than the sort of thrashings that they were doing whenever they were playing in the Camp Nou or around their own home ground. So I'm intrigued to see how it'll go, and I do think it'll be a really great battle.
Like on that domestic piece, and you mentioned that going 30 wins for 30 games domestically, there's a goal difference 148 or something crazy like that, and the only defeat I think in the last 45 games was the Wolfsburg game that you mentioned in the semi-final that was ultimately a dead rubber anyway. What is... Like, given all of that stuff, an incredible run, is there still something about Lyon, the side of Lyon in the final, that puts a bit of fear into this Barcelona side?
I don't know if it's fear so much as it puts a little bit of wind up their backs, because they know themselves that this is kind of the team that they need to beat to take away any question marks over what they have done. I think you get this across sports, but when you have a team that dominates, probably in the way that Lyon used to dominate, you kind of question, you're like, well, is the league that good? Is, domestically, are they just not given the right competition? It's the same sort of questions you'd see around a team like Bayern Munich or something. But I think beating Lyon will just be like the cherry on top for this Barcelona team. It will show that they have totally gotten rid of those demons from 2019 and that they are the new heads of Europe. Like, they are the team to beat. I think, like, no matter what level Lyon are at, such as their history and such as the caliber of the players on their team, every team still wants to beat them. And when we say they're not having a great season or they're not having their best season, it means that they're losing one or two matches compared to not like winning every single one that's going. So I think if you listen as well to anything that the Barcelona players have said this week, their focus has very much been revenge. Oshuala has talked about it. Fridolina Rolfo has talked about it. They want to get revenge against Lyon, and they want to, I think, kind of give back to them what they felt in 2019. So I think that's probably more their focus going into the final.
We're all about boxing analogies this morning, and styles win fights. Just in terms of styles here, Kathleen, what are we thinking? Like, it's the high press, obviously, of Barcelona, try and win the ball high up the pitch, flood the box, flood the final third. What is the mix of styles going to be here?
It's this is part of the reason why I think it's going to be such an interesting matchup, because they are both very similar the way that they play. They both like the high press, they both like their possession. I actually think when it comes down to it, it's going to be that midfield area is going to be really important. Like, we know with Barcelona, the absolute quality that they have there with Patrick Guijarro, Bob Matty, Alexia Putellas. That is probably the area that's going to be most important. I'm interested to see how Barcelona do playing a team where they don't mind sitting off the ball sometimes and letting another team play. I know I saw them play against Arsenal in the Champions League earlier on in the year, and they were perfectly happy to let Arsenal pass the ball around and then just snap it off them and absolutely just flood the box and get their goals. I think against Lyon, it's really going to be a test of patience for both teams, who can hold on to the ball for the longest, who can get the ball to the likes of Hegerberg, who is the competition's top scorer. I think she's going to be really important for Lyon. Katerine Maccaro as well, the US women's national team player who can play in midfield or up front. I think those two players for Lyon are going to be important. I think both teams are going to be looking at shutting down those key areas, but it's going to be difficult because they're so loaded in so many different parts of the field. But I think for Lyon, definitely it's their forwards that they're going to be looking to, and then for Barcelona, it's going to be their midfield that they're going to hope to dominate on.
What does this matchup, Kathleen, tell us about the power dynamics in Europe in the sport at the moment? Like, do you see it trending towards the WSL's favour over the next little while? Like, I'm not sure what the financial breakdowns are compared to the French teams and the Spanish teams, but do you see the likes of Manchester City, to a lesser extent behind Chelsea and Arsenal, I guess moving towards Lyon and Barcelona, and then potentially putting distance between them if we're talking 5-10 years into the future?
Well, I think the argument tends to be that the WSL is probably the most competitive of all the leagues. It's the one that sees, from all the way to the top to the bottom, the teams are a bit closer. They're kind of competing a bit more. This year in particular, if you look at some of the transfers that are already going through, I think it's interesting that we are seeing more players being attracted to the Spanish league in particular. The likes of Caroline Weir is tipped to go from Manchester City to Real Madrid. And that Real Madrid as well are putting in a major transfer season in general, if any of the reports to go by so far. I think it goes back and forward. I think where the Spanish and French leagues have struggled before is that they've been quite top heavy. I mean, we saw this year in the Spanish league, teams not having their own medics and having to borrow medics off Barcelona when they played them. Everything that Barcelona have done for Spanish football has definitely put a massive spotlight on it, and I think the Euros this summer is probably going to only highlight it more. I don't know if the trend is there yet for people to be going massively to some of the lower league or the lower in the league teams for France and Spain, but I think it's interesting. I like the fact that there's more competition coming in. I like the fact that we're not going into this match and being like, oh, well, Lyon are going to win because that's what Lyon do every year. It's a bit more. And I think the WSL in the Champions League in particular, it's an area it really needs to prove itself in. You know, Arsenal are the only past winners. It was a long time ago. Chelsea got absolutely annihilated by Barcelona in the final last year. So for all that the WSL says that it has the best players and it has the best teams, and money-wise, it would be up there. I know, like, Chelsea and Arsenal, definitely their sort of funds would be up there with what the likes of Barcelona, Lyon and PSG, even Bayern Munich and Wolfsburg are offering. But City, we've seen this summer, are struggling a tiny bit because their pay structures are slightly different to the others, and they do offer a bit less, and that is why we're seeing the likes of, say, Stanway leaving, Caroline Weir, Lucy Bronze might be out the door. There's footballing reasons for it as well, but it definitely adds to the attraction if you know you can go somewhere and get a better wage packet. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the WSL teams, especially in the next season or two, kind of come back in the Champions League and prove themselves, because they definitely didn't do it this year, and that's only going to harm them when it comes down the line where players are looking for Champions League football and looking for that trophy success. Even, you know, Arsenal and Miedema, like, it looks like she's going to sign a 1-year extension now, but that's the thing she's talked about all the time is, I want to win a Champions League trophy. Are you going to stay in a league that hasn't had a winner? And God knows, I think it's like 8 years now.
Yeah, she was advertising the jersey as well. It'd be quite a U-turn if she wasn't actually wearing it next season for Arsenal. Is it too simplistic, Kathleen, to compare this era to where the men's game was at from like 2008 to 2012, where Barcelona are looking like they could become the dominant club team, and Spain are obviously favourites for this year's Euros as well, which is obviously similar to the international scene 14 to 10 years ago?
I think it might be just because I think the game is at a very different place to where the men's game was even then. You know, we're still seeing quite a lot of fluctuation in terms of teams coming up, and I know Spain have been tipped as favourites for this Euros, and that's largely on Barcelona's success, but also the team. The reason that Barcelona has been so successful isn't necessarily that they went after like major names or they went after the top stars. They have amazing players who are top stars, but they were really clever in their recruitment, and they recruited for areas that they had issues with, and they built that over time. And I don't think the Spanish team has done that necessarily in the same way, and also in the way that it's very difficult to do that with an international side compared to a club side where you're with the team all the time. I think instead this is more a pattern that we're going to see in women's football in general, where there's these constant power plays because people are getting more interested in the sport. People are putting more money into it. You know, we saw it in the WSL this year with the likes of Man United and Tottenham. People wouldn't have said at the start of the season that Tottenham would have looked like possibly getting a Champions League place for over half the season and then tailing off. Like, if they put a little bit more money in the team, they could be competing in the Champions League next year and could be a powerhouse in 3 years' time. It's much more difficult to know where the trend is going because everyone is almost still, like, the dust hasn't settled on the money that's being pumped into all the different leagues, the money that's being pumped into the teams. And I think that Barcelona could 100% dominate and for the next couple of years. And I don't see it happening with the Spain team as much, but anything can happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if another team comes up next year and gives them a run for their money.
In a word, Lyon or Barcelona?
I'm going to go at Lyon just because I think Barcelona aren't always the best away from home, but we'll see. Yeah,
as you say, it's a good conversation to have now that the outcome is definitely not foregone. Brilliant FA Cup final last weekend that we need to talk about as well. Chelsea beating Manchester City 3-2 in the end. Chelsea got ahead and they clawed back. It goes to extra time and Sam Kerr gets the winner. And I was interested to see Emma Hayes talking afterwards about City underestimating them, which felt like a very pointed, maybe post-League Cup final, but very pointed.
Yeah, I think it could have been because in the run-up to the match, there was a lot of talk from City players about how they were the best club and the best team in the league. And, you know, I do think it was quite remarkable what City did getting that final Champions League spot, considering how awful they were at the start of the season. You know, you were looking at a team of absolute stars and thinking that could be like a bottom of the table sort of finish for them. I think Emma Hayes was probably being unfair saying that City underestimated them. I don't think anyone goes up against Chelsea and underestimates them. And I think even how close it was shows that they didn't underestimate them. Chelsea they've shown exactly the sort of team they are, especially in the last few matches of the season, where they looked like they were down and out so many times and managed to just come back. I mean, Sam Kerr in particular helped them through a few scrapes, but I think their mentality is absolutely insane. They know how to get those ugly wins, and maybe Man City were counting on them to play a bit uglier and them to be able to press them enough that they wouldn't be able to get that final goal. That wasn't the case on the day, but I think anyone who goes into playing Chelsea or City and underestimates the other side probably shouldn't be playing at Chelsea or City.
Yeah. And I saw Anne Hayes as well talking about it's like this constant link of her maybe going to another club, complicated by everything that's going on at Chelsea obviously at the minute, but she's saying no, there's no, she says that thing that every manager says just before they move to another club. No, there's no truth in that. No idea about any of that stuff. Likely to stay, or what's your sense?
I think she's likely to stay. I think she has unfinished business with Chelsea, particularly when it comes to European football. And if you look at like her connection to Chelsea, it's emotional. It's so deep. I mean, at the end, the final whistle at the weekend, she was thumping the badge on her chest and there were tears in her eyes. And she has built Chelsea women into what they are. That club would not exist at the level that it does without everything she's done. And the thing I always say about Emma Hayes is she's an incredible player manager. You know, she has this ability to have a team of stars, and the difference between, say, Chelsea and Barcelona is that like Chelsea will spend the money. You know, they've broken the British transfer record twice. They brought in Pernilla Harder on the world transfer fee. They're willing to spend that money, but also she is able to manage that team and is so close to them that none of the egos get in the way of their play. And I always think that's incredibly impressive. And I think part of that comes from how close the bond is with her and the club. So I don't think she's going anywhere soon. I think if she wins a Champions League title, say maybe next year, then maybe she might look for a new challenge. But I just think that she enjoys life at Chelsea far too much to leave, and I think it would have to be a very interesting project for her to leave. You know, she's not going to go unless she sees something that she can really make a difference in.
Yeah. You've got a whole list of stuff that we're going to come back to next week, Kathleen. Players of the year, underrated players, underperformers, with loads of stuff, but there's too much in that to do it now, so I don't want to squeeze it in. We'll come back to it if you're around next week. But there is one thing I want to ask you about before we let you away. I was struck by two stories, one of them from Ireland outside of the soccer stuff. It bubbled up again during the week with I saw Fiona McHale pointing to it from the BBC podcast, the GAA Social podcast, where they brought up about expenses around the LGFA again, and the fact that there aren't any. And Fiona McHale saying that can confirm that LGFA players do not get expenses. If I were to claim mileage the way men do, or weekly travel expenses, would be about 500 quid. So that's bubbling away, and it's remarkable to be still having that conversation in 2022. I would have thought, actually, as people talking about the potential merger between the GAA, LGFA and the Camogie Association, that would see to that. I would have thought actually the GAA and the GPA and the LGPA merger would have actually gone a long way to trying to help that sort of conversation, but it doesn't appear to have done. So that on the one side, and then events in the US, Kathleen, during the week, obviously with the men's and women's national team getting an equal split of World Cup bonuses is a major development.
Yeah, it's massive, and I think what's so big about it is that it really moves on the conversation from where we were. I know how excited we were, say, when Ireland announced equal pay for our men's and women's teams and like the talks that went into it, but this is putting pressure on the likes of FIFA. This is looking at, you know, the entire world and saying, okay, well, we've gone one step further, why can't you guys? I also think it's remarkable because obviously we saw like 6 years of lawsuits between the US Soccer Federation and the US Women's National Team, and the one thing that the US Soccer Federation always said, among a lot of other very offensive things generally, but they said that they would never split bonuses from World Cups because it would bankrupt the entire federation, and that was kind of the big thing that came out of the announcement. And it's like you say, you mentioned the expenses thing there. It's the fact that the US Soccer Federation and the US Women's National Team have gone as far as to say, well, for every match that the men's team have, we're going to split the ticket sales with the women and vice versa, which, I mean, in the US, like the US Women's National Team will often pull in more people than the men anyway, so it does benefit them. But if you think about the fact that the final place team in the men's World Cup last time out earned more money than the team that won it, it's amazing. And like the bonuses for Qatar, I think, are something like 400 million. And the US Women's National Team are going to get access to that compared to the 60 million that you would get in the World Cup pool for the women's side. So it takes a conversation another level. It gives other sides something to point to and say, well, okay, we got our equal pay, but why aren't we getting expenses, or why aren't we getting same treatment when it comes to travel? We've seen stories so many times about women's team being stuck on, you know, bad flights, or not even getting a flight, having to take a train across the country or whatever it might be. So it's another beacon. It's another thing to say, well, this isn't abnormal. And I loved Midge Purse was talking about it afterwards, and she was quoting her dad, and she said, you know, you shouldn't have to thank people for things that should just be done. And I think that's what I took from this. You know, it's great that it's happened, and I'm delighted that it has, but we were not going to hand out any gold stars either, because it should have been done a long time ago. And I hope people see it as something for the future and something to aim towards. Because at the end of the day, if women's sport had been given the sort of money that men's sport has been for all these years, we would be having a lot more fun talking about sport rather than money and economics and human rights, I suppose.
Catch up with you next week. Thanks, Kathleen.
See you then. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Kathleen McNamee from the Coigig podcast. Conor Mullen saying, strange lads that you make comments about Lampard being loved in the media, but never say anything about the Liverpool love, in a massive bias for the whole football club, says Conor Mullins. Typically you tend to be a Manchester United fan.
Yeah, comments about bias in the media are always quite funny. You know, I think a lot of Liverpool fans the other day would have said there's such an anti-Liverpool bias in the voice of Martin Tyler. And then we got a studio to Jamie Carragher, who was like the most ever present pundit on television. I think you can find bias wherever you want.
Wherever you want it. There was a very good TikTok that I saw during the week of some lad doing the Martin Tyler. It was like a visual. Did you see it? The visual of Martin Tyler good. Sort of with the Minamino goal, wasn't it? He was like, Minamino, and you compare it with the Aguero commentary, which like was maybe the greatest commentary clip of all time. He's always
but you can't compare Minamino's equaliser against Southampton to Aguero's goal that literally won the Premier League.
But also people say he's a Man United fan, which the Aguero goal would go.
I know, but you can make that point without comparing Minamino's goal to Aguero's goal. They're vastly different in importance.
Coming up on 20 minutes past 8, it's Friday morning, you're watching OTB AM, and I want to let you know that this weekend 9 of our offshore islands are going to set sail for Bear Island in Cork for the annual All Islands Gaelic Football Tournament. It's back after a couple of years absence, and there'll be 18 men's and women's teams competing there, and it'll always also be a celebration of island culture and island life. We're going to head west right now for a message from one of the island teams ahead of a very major weekend.
How's it going off the ball? This is Luke Murray here from Inishbofin GAA. I just wondering if you could give a big shout out to the Inishbofin men's and women's Gaelic football teams who are heading down to Bear Island this weekend for the annual Islands All Ireland Football Tournament. It's the first time since before COVID that the tournament has been able to go ahead, so we're all very excited about heading down. So it'd be great if you could just give a shout out to the Boffin teams and also to all the other islands who'll be competing this weekend from County Donegal, County Mayo, County Galway, County Cork. We're looking forward to a great weekend of football and crack, and hopefully we can come out of there with a couple of trophies on Sunday. So best of luck to all the islands that are competing, and thanks for giving us a shout out.
That's Luke Murray from Inishbofin GAA, and they're all heading south this weekend. You can keep track on the progress and events and the crack, I'm absolutely certain of that, at Bear Islands GAA on Twitter for much more details on all of that. It is 20 past 8, it's Friday morning, we've loads to come. Ronan O'Gara is going to be live in the show a little bit later on. Quick Picks on the way, and plenty more as well besides. First of all, our first roadshow in 3 years is nearly here. It's the Football Pod, and they've just added a Mayo legend to the lineup for Castlebar, the Royal Theatre, June the 2nd. Joining Paddy and James is a man that they've had several battles with on big days at Croke Park, but we are, for now at least, sworn to secrecy. Stay tuned over the coming days when all will be revealed. Brilliant night of football and chat. Lots of focus on Mayo, clearly. It's the Football Pod with Paddy, James and Tommy in Castlebar, Thursday, June 2nd. Tickets are €20 plus booking fees, and you can head along to otbsports.com/events right now for much more on all of that. During the upcoming ads, quick picks on the way. During the upcoming ads, you're going to hear the latest from the latest episode of the Football Pod that dropped during the week. Tommy, Paddy and James talking about the majesty of a young Mr. Canavan. See you after these.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio. Off the ball.
You're on fire today. I need to speak to someone in Egypt. You see, Joe is not happy.
I went to see Simply Red in the 3 Arena, and just to be involved in a crowd was just it's a secret hidden.
Well, hang on, sorry, there's a tangent we're going to have to take here. So Simply Red, right? Okay, so what's your favourite Simply Red song then, Liam?
If you don't know me by now.
This is OTB Sports Radio, live 24/7 on the OTB Sports app.
James, tell Paddy how impressive that was.
He's running, he has a bit of time, and he wants to deliver a ball to the inside line. So he's running definitely 80%. And he doesn't take his eyes off the recipient of the pass he's about to kick, and he's soloing it at full stride with his eyes nowhere near the ball, nowhere near looking down. It's just savage skill. It's a dream for an inside forward. You know when you lock eyes with a fella outside and you know the pass is coming, but you can't lock eyes with a fella if his head is down, soloing and hopping, and he has no control over the ball. Like, this fella has control over the ball without even thinking about anything. He's just so in control.
James, have you ever seen someone do that before? Like the Gooch solo with his head up like that? Because you think of Gooch.
The Gooch did, but the Gooch wouldn't be that far back the field probably to be soloing the ball up the field.
He's not going at that pace.
Yeah, Canavan is travelling at pace there, yeah.
Yeah. I would have thought Declan Sullivan maybe would have had his head up when he moved, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just glided like that.
He did. No, he did, but it was just...
I've never
seen it
so
obvious because he was almost opening his eyes to tell the inside forward to move. It was like, go again, run again. Do you know, you have that relationship with the fella outside and inside, and it's just eye contact. That's all you need is that eye contact, and he's searching for that. It's just clever play and so skillful.
This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here is where it all starts. From the little ones learning to the high-performance athletes leading. Here we go to play, to practice, to progress. Here is where communities in the nation come together to compete, to win, and to belong. Here we go to the next level, then on to the world stage. This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here we go. Visit sportirelandcampus.ie to be a part of it.
FBD Insurance knows this sound spells trouble for van drivers. But if you're an existing FBD customer, you'll get 15% off a new van insurance policy. It's how we're keeping you and your van on the road. Visit fbd.ie or contact your local branch. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Terms and conditions apply. 15% discount available on new commercial motor policies only when an existing FBD farm, business, car or home policy is in place. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Commercial motor insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance PLC.
OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
Some of these critics, these pundits, I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
They like to play the hard man when they're on it. It's not very pleasant when you're trying to manage a team. All you're looking for is a bit of civility and a bit of decency, but they just dismiss you like you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
Quick Picks, 8:24 Friday morning. Tommy, good morning to you.
Morning.
How are you getting on?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We were just debating in the ads there about how the three of you were fawning over that clip of Rory Canavan doing his little sort of solo with the head up. A skill you can do yourself, is it? Or
oh no,
you can't solo with your head up.
Not like that at that pace. You can solo with your head up. You can do it like you can slow down and put your head up and look around you and scan, but at that pace, Adrian, come on, have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, that was immense.
When you were back in hurling training this year?
Mainstay in my game. I mean, it's easier to do with the hurling, obviously, but
well, I'll put it to you this way: James O'Donoghue had never seen it like that before.
Do you know what? I feel like an awful fraud having any sort of counterpoint to what you're saying when James O'Donoghue. Whatever about you, Tommy, and your amazing football prowess. Who am I to argue with James O'Donoghue?
Very true.
I did feel as if you were gilding the lily. I'm not going to lie.
Gilding the lily. What does that mean?
The pass was unbelievable. I thought you were over egging the skill.
It wasn't the pass. Well, the pass was brilliant, but it was exceptional. The pass.
Was the pass not better than the solo?
No.
What do you think?
It passes like Rory Canavan is going to be a star, and it already looks like. I know you kind of were you kind of like potentially theorising that he could be dropped in pretty soon to the Tyrone panel, that he could almost do a job this year, Tommy. The thing about this guy is that he looks stockier than Dara. I'm not sure if that's right, but it looks like he can almost like slot into senior level quicker than his brother could. And like I'm surprised by Dara. We haven't seen more Dara maybe this year for Tyrone, and I'm sure he'll have a glittering career over the next couple of years. We'll probably have a Tyrone forward line where the two Canavans will play, but it looks like Rory's even more capable of slotting right into that team. Like, I mean, I obviously would have watched him quite closely in the semi-final more than any other game this season when he destroyed Kerry in that second half. This kid is amazing. This kid is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's going to be next year, Tommy, when we actually see him make a serious impact. We're not actually going to be waiting too long to see him make strides in senior intercounty football.
I think so as well, Eoin. Paddy was asking, can he be brought straight in? Yeah. And James is kind of like, no, it's too early. Lads are too young at that age these days, you know. Canavan's still underage for 20s next year, so
needs must, Tommy.
Well, you know, he may be in the mix for the qualifiers this year, depending on who they get. You don't know, because there's obviously been such a turnover in the Tyrone squad. One fella who'll definitely be in there is Matty McLean.
Oh my God,
young lad.
Do you think he has the physicality for intercounty football, Tommy?
Well, if anyone does, Owen, it's young McLean, and I wouldn't be afraid of sticking him on the edge of the square.
He's 25.
Yeah. He has to be.
Which was the better skill?
The kick pass. I love a kick pass. But everybody is taught to solo with their head up. I guess it's just the pace, isn't it? That maybe is the key factor here. People naturally, when the head goes up, the pace goes down. The kick pass was exceptional. But like, I mean, whatever Tommy and James say is
exactly. How do you argue?
No, lads, everyone is told to solo with their head up.
No one does it.
Watch the football. Is there any football on this? There's only games on GAA Go, so you may not watch it. Watch the football next weekend in the 4 provincial finals.
Tommy says,
and point out to me, Adrian, how many people solo
here,
with their heads up.
I'm not saying it's not done. I'm not saying it is done. You're 100% right. I'm not saying it wasn't a very impressive bit of skill. It was class. I'm just saying, I just thought you were gilding the lily.
I'm getting a tone here, Tommy, that you're saying that we won't see any heads up soloing in the Tailteann Cup. That's a big setback for this competition, that we have the hosted football pod slamming the basic skills of the Tailteann Cup.
That is absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm saying in anything. Like the only dub that Paddy suggested did it was Michael Darragh-Macaulay, and I heard that.
No, I think that's right. I think he's right.
Featured enough.
No, yeah. I think he was right. I thought you paid no attention to it at all. Yeah. We'll take that as our cue to move on. I think we have a leaderboard, which is incredible. This is the first time. Why do we do these leaderboards? They're just a waste of time. They're a total waste of time. And I should point out as well that the asterisk there on your man, who's number one on the list, is because, like, basically it's been easier for him to get there on. Because he's had to
skip the hardest week.
Yeah, exactly.
He skipped the week where Mayo got beaten, and
dipping in and out.
You weren't in that week.
It'd be embarrassing for you anyway, Tommy, if you don't, given your role that we've just been discussing there, if you don't end up top of that leaderboard yourself or Will.
Yeah, predictions aren't an easy game, boys. You know that as well as I do. Where are the rest of them today?
They're crying off, but they have sent through their predictions. So some brilliant permutations. We're going to get straight into it. The hurling to begin with, unbelievable permutations here over the weekend as to who's going to have to advance. Kilkenny versus Wexford is first up. All five of us have gone for Kilkenny here. It's probably one of the most straightforward. Are you grimacing on the basis that you think Wexford?
Well, I grimace whenever we all go one direction in this, and also the fact, like, I think it's just once in the last 5 games Kilkenny have beaten Wexford over 70 minutes. Yes, there's a history to that doesn't seem to exist with this Wexford team at the moment, that they maybe, despite their league form, have come off a peak that we saw a few years ago. I just think that when you bring the quality that they still have in that squad into proceedings this weekend, it's not a sure thing the one thing that's kind of given me confidence in picking Kilkenny is that you have Brian Cody coming out saying we're looking at it like we're fighting to stay in the championship. Like almost as if they're the wounded animal rather than Wexford, who drew at Westmeath last week. So when Brian Cody is talking in those terms, you do tend to fear Kilkenny. Obviously Kilkenny can be beaten. I think that on their day Dublin, Galway and Wexford can all beat Kilkenny, and I think we'll see a really exciting Leinster Championship over the next couple of years. But this weekend I would certainly be tipping Kilkenny at home.
Right. I want to get through these at some pace, Tommy. Have you anything to add on that, or we crack on?
Nothing to disagree with Eoin there, and I just think home advantage, Nolan Park, is a massive factor. Yeah.
Galway Dublin is next up, and again, maybe this is somewhat surprising. Galway all the way from all five of us. The permutations here is basically that's a shootout for a place in the Leinster final. If Wexford can somehow manage to hold Kilkenny to even a draw or beat them, then Dublin will go into the All-Ireland series no matter what happens at that game at Pearse Stadium. But a win will put them into the Leinster final. Could put them into the Leinster final, where if you're still with me, a draw for Galway will see them into the Leinster final, but they're already through to the knockout rounds. Is that all clear? It feels like an Eoin Sheahan explainer here. Hopefully fairly clear, but Galway on evidence, Tommy feels is the right call.
I think so, Adrian. I've always found it difficult to warm to the Dublin hurlers over the last couple of years. I find it hard to back them. I haven't ever seen them really do it. And I think they're actually, we go quite easy on them as well. I don't know, are the standards set high enough? Like, I just don't know why Dublin hurling hasn't gotten to where it should have gotten to over the last couple of years. So
too busy signing autographs, Tommy.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Was it not selfies? Was that not the issue, Owen?
Was it selfies? Maybe it was.
Selfies,
It is 2022. Like obviously that like I mean, what are you going to do? Just turn down people looking for selfies? Like it was pretty harsh criticism.
No,
I'd be more worried about like I mean the reaction afterwards. I wouldn't read into it at all. It's like Galway drew at Kilkenny, and Galway beat Kilkenny beat this team by 17 points just last week. When we're making a prediction, I think that has to have some sort of weighting. You can't extrapolate results from 3 different teams, but I think with a 17-point gap, it would give you a bit of confidence in predicting this. I do like I mean, maybe I'm just remembering the summer of 2019 just a little bit too much here. But I'm just a little bit cautious of how simplistic these two predictions feel. That there has to be some sort of cat amongst the pigeons, right?
Yeah, well, look, I think the biggest story on Dublin, as Tommy was talking about not being able to trust them, was the Wexford game in the league a few weeks ago, and everybody thought, Jesus, actually, maybe there's something about them. But then the Westmeath result maybe cast all that into doubt as well. But it'll be a proper test of where they're at this weekend.
Owen, if there was to be an upset in these two games, who would you be going for?
Wexford.
Would you? Okay.
Wexford, yeah. I
just think Galway, if anyone is likely,
I'd probably say Dublin.
Galway.
Yeah. Well, I can see why I'd say that, but like, and I know that there is a gulfing class between Westmeath and Kilkenny, the two opponents of the teams we're analysing last week. But it's still one was a heavy defeat, and I know drawing with Westmeath will feel like a defeat, but it wasn't one. We're trying to pick between.
I think I could be wrong, but there might have been only like a point between Westmeath and Kilkenny at half time. I know I'm sort of grasping at straws there.
Yeah,
but
it was close actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Clare Waterford next up, and now we have a bit of a split at last. Eoin, Will, and myself are going for Clare, and Aisling and Tommy, bizarrely, are going for Waterford. Waterford desperately needing Cork, Toulouse, and Thurles. Hard to get a read, I suppose, on where Waterford are at almost. Whether, Tommy, and you're going for them here, but are they genuine contenders or still a work in progress?
Well, we'll know on Sunday.
You're predicting, so you're put your neck in the block here. You feel there must be. If you're predicting them to beat Clare, who are a genuine contender, right?
Yeah, but Adrian, we're Clare genuine contenders in your head last week. You're saying that now, but were they last week genuine contenders?
I always come back to Tony Kelly, but like anybody's a contender when you've got him in the team.
Oh, of course. No, of course, and the manner in which Clare rose to the occasion last week was exceptional to see, and their fitness levels, their physicality, their athleticism, I blown away by it at the minute. Like, they've clearly done incredible work over the last 2 years, and they're in a really good place. And there's a lot of players in that Clare squad who have come nowhere near their ceiling yet. Never mind Tony Kelly. So this weekend, though, I just feel like the fact that Clare are in the Munster final. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. They didn't play round one. They've been back-to-back for the last couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think there'd be too many changes, but even 3, 4, 5 changes can kind of change the momentum, the drive, the engine of a team. And Clare did have a couple of injuries coming into the start of the Munster Championship. They've kept their team together. I wouldn't be surprised a couple of their core players are possibly tapered off or rested or whatever.
Clare players.
Yeah, Clare players. So I think because they don't need a result this weekend.
He's got insider information, is what he's saying here.
Yeah,
I have no information whatsoever. And I also just think that the quirk of these round robin championships, like Owen's talking about 2019 there, where Galway got caught, and it felt freakish that Galway were knocked out. If that happens this year at Waterford, it will feel like that, like they've managed to somehow leave it behind them. Like obviously it's not in their own hands. We'll come to the next game, and I'm starting to doubt myself about my prediction for the next game. I just think Waterford are going to get the job done this weekend.
I actually think it wouldn't be freakish at all if Waterford don't make it through this. Galway, it did feel freakish, I agree with you. The manner of, I think they all ended on 6 points, wasn't it? And it was scoring difference that day in 2019, so that was mad. If Waterford don't make it, it's because they lost 2 games. Like, there's nothing freakish about that. They didn't deserve to beat Cork, didn't deserve to beat Limerick. And in fact, the revisionism that we're seeing now is actually, did Waterford just put a glass in the scoreline against Limerick late on, rather than the initial narrative was it a great comeback? You Michael Dignan this week saying that Waterford don't respond well to pressure.
That's funny for me, I have to say. He actually said he thinks there's something psychologically wrong with them, that their option taking is poor under pressure, but also just in general play.
So the question is, does that motivate them this weekend as a dressing room wall scenario, or is Michael Dignan actually just right about Waterford? I'm possibly going with the latter here, and he might be onto something with regards to what we've seen. Like, the pressure in the league is non-existent, and they played really well, and they absolutely have the players to be in the top 3 teams in Munster, but there was a certain high pressure scenario last weekend which they didn't perform well in. I also think, Tommy, Clare have an opportunity to just knock Waterford out. Like we were saying, as if there's no motivation here for Clare whatsoever. You beat Waterford, you knock them out, you enter somewhere. Sorry, I'm not saying you said that, but we often have this conversation around the team who are through, as if they've got nothing to play for. Still think there's a bit of a carrot there for Clare.
Stephen Gerrard approach here to it's important. It's important, the 3 points for us.
Yeah.
Tipperary and Cork is the other game we want to get to here. We have Eoin, the only one who's going for Tip. We've Aisling, Will and Tommy going for Cork, and I'm going for a draw. I really, actually, the more I looked at this last night, I thought that's not the greatest call. The permutations here: Cork can win at Thurles. If Cork can win at Thurles, they're into the All-Ireland series, and look at maybe that clarity for them. Coming back from the brink is all that Cork need to grind it out. Tipperary needing a 7-point win, and for Clare to beat Waterford. So at least everybody's fairly clear in this one as to what's going to happen. But Tommy, you're feeling Cork?
Yeah, and I'm really tempted to change it.
Really?
I am. I just think there's going to be something chaotic, as Owen said. Something chaotic is going to happen. Both games are on side by side on Sunday evening. It's going to be mental. I think there's going to be some sort of drama. Now, I'll stick with Cork going off the back of their performance last weekend.
Let's wrap up.
Cork,
We'll wrap up with the football, the Tailteann Cup. Tommy, you mentioned a bit earlier on. Wicklow and Waterford will be the first ever game in the Tailteann Cup, and we're all going for Wicklow.
We're going. Yeah, I'm going for Wicklow, but like Waterford are 4-1, and Waterford shouldn't be 4-1. Fair enough, they were bottom or very close to bottom of Division 4, but they were very competitive in every single one of their games. Aoife Fitzgerald did get a tune out of them this year, and Conor Murray's been out talking. He's a very talented footballer himself this week about what it's like to be a Waterford footballer. They're not going to be that far away, but I just think Alan Costello came in halfway through the league with Wicklow, and I've seen some good things with them, but it shouldn't be 4-1.
Yeah, the Conor Murray comments were interesting actually, and will give you like a good degree of excitement around what this competition can actually bring for a few counties. You definitely get a sense off Waterford that they're looking over at Limerick and thinking to themselves, why can't we replicate what they've done on the football pitch? I think there's probably a bit of a playing resources difference, a significant one maybe. So maybe it's not comparing like with like, but they're made the point like they've really built on league form over the last couple of years, which has translated now into a first Munster final in quite some time. The Tailteann Cup will be as important as the league, at least for a lot of these teams, if they do it the right way, and we've seen how that could be the building block for a team. He's also talking up the idea of playing in Croke Park. He says, talking to a few of his Leinster counterparts, it's almost like a slog going up to Croke Park. I think for Leinster players at the moment there's an obvious reason for that, but I think the carrot of playing in Croke Park for the Waterford footballers would be a big one, and for any of the non-Leinster counties involved in this. So hopefully this thing just kind of captures some sort of imagination over the next few weeks.
Yeah, Dublin and Meath, it seems, are the only teams happy to play Crow Park on. They're just
delighted.
No need to challenge any of that stuff. Wexford Offaly is the last port of call for us, and now I'm surprised about this because I actually thought if I went for Offaly that the rest of you were going the opposite direction, and I might have a bit of a shake because obviously it's a repeat of the game that they only played a few weeks ago, which Wexford came out on top of. So.
Yeah, I
that's
think
not a good sign.
No, it's not, especially.
Why have we all gone for Offaly?
Well, I don't know. For me, it's because if Offaly had won that game against Wexford in the Championship, they would have been the ones to take the 20-something point battering off Dublin, and they would be the ones coming in with their tail between the legs. Although we still probably would tip Offaly.
I go with that, yeah.
I think that we shouldn't expect Wexford to put up to not get hammered by Dublin, especially the form Dublin are looking in at the moment. But I do think the magnitude of the defeat can have a bit of an impact. Like if Ben Brosnan turns on the lights again like he did last time, he scored 1-8 in that game against Offaly last time out. It could be a decisive factor. I think one player can actually turn a game like this. And the sounds from the Offaly camp have been a little bit mixed. Like I think Mahan's up for sure, but there was definitely kind of mixed messages coming out from post Westwood game to what we're getting now. So I definitely think it's not a coin toss, but it's only 2 or 3 points in it.
We're all getting carried away with this Offaly uprising, Tommy.
I was hoping Will O'Callaghan would be here because Offaly have been plagued by injuries over the last month, and I have no idea whether they've cleared up or not. Getting injury information off GA teams can be quite difficult, so it's all going to come down to that. Playing depth at this level is going to be one of the big factors over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks as squads go into the summer and they try and maintain their, the levels of physicality and athleticism as we've spoken about before. Offaly should have the quality if they have their players, so we'll see.
And one comment just to leave it on YouTube here from Thomas O'Connell. Does anyone think the negativity of the promotion of the Charlton Cup has been a bit harsh? Promo the other day was very good and looks like they've made an extra content to come as well. Cup is class too, which I think everybody's on board with. Tommy, fair play, good man.
Thanks lads, see you later.
Well done, that's the quick picks.
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
We have live Ronan O'Gara to come in about 10 minutes or thereabouts, and we've live Crappy Quiz to come as well a little bit later on. So all happening here at OTB AM. Do keep your comments coming into us. There's loads of them coming in about the various things happening this morning. The one thing we haven't really got to touch on, John Duggan, good morning to you, is the golf.
Adrian and Eoin, are we well?
Flying it, yeah. It's a monster, mad, chaotic 24 hours of sport.
It's been like that all week with a lot of soccer matches late in the evenings. So it's been a sleep-deprived week, but a week where we just go back into the TV and hook the TV to our veins and we go again.
Is our boy going to see it out?
I think he is. I think he's going to do it.
You do?
Yeah.
So, is that framing of the question, not getting ahead of ourselves, seeing it out, like he's one stroke clear? This is not the US Open in 2011. It's not the magnitude of the lead.
No, not at all. All you can do is look upon what you've seen. I watched every shot yesterday and he's playing like he played in the final day of the Masters.
Yeah.
He's playing with freedom. There's no sports star that I've ever seen to ride the momentum like Rory McIlroy can. And when he's not riding that freedom, he goes into reverse. There's a couple of instances yesterday when he made bogeys on par threes and then he got the momentum back in the final hole with a 15-footer for birdie. 7 birdies, 2 bogeys, 5 under par. He was averaging 332 yards off the tee. I don't know if you guys played Tiger Woods PGA Tour computer game. But when you got very good at it, you'd always hit it long and straight down the middle, over 300 yards. And that's what he was doing yesterday. His short game was good. He was sharp. He's been playing well. Paul McGinley said that he has been doing a lot of work with Bob Bertella, the psychologist, the mind guy that Padraig Harrington used to use. I think that's been a big thing for Rory. Now, I did see earlier in the season at Bay Hill, Rory shot a 7-under opening round, and then the weather beat him up. And he went backwards and he ended up just completely collapsing. And Scotty Scheffler won that tournament. So that is the danger. So this is not a done deal. So the thing about Rory is Rory needs to put this together for probably 2.5 rounds and then not mess up the other 1.5, because you're going to have moments when it's going to dip. And there's talented players, as you say, behind him, Eoin, Will Zalatoris and Tom Hoagie 4 under par. But more importantly, I think Justin Thomas is 3 under.
Cameron Smith
is 2 under. Matt Fitzpatrick is playing well, 2 under. Wacken Neiman, we know, is talented, 2 under par as well. Scotty Scheffler 1 over. So this is definitely not a done deal. But once again, Rory, you're probably going to get the best of the weather today because it's going to be very breezy earlier on. And then the wind is meant to dip a bit at Southern Hills. So that actually, I think the people who got the early, late draw have definitely an advantage on the field. It was 1 stroke advantage yesterday on the rest of the field. So I think Shane Lowry, has a propensity at the moment to make too many mistakes. So he threw one in the water there yesterday at 13. I think Rory has to keep the foot on the gas. Even if he makes mistakes, he has to be aggressive and back himself. Because you see it in his body language, you see the bounce and the step. I think he actually enjoyed playing with Tiger and Jordan yesterday, Jordan Spieth, and he outplayed them considerably. Now, Tiger Woods isn't fit, but Rory still did it.
JD, you're talking about him playing for 2.5 days, as in going for it for 2.5 days.
No, playing with that extreme freedom of scoring ability.
And aggressiveness almost.
Yeah, just freedom. I would say freedom.
So what happens when he's going for it, right? And he's going for it yesterday, and he's taking stuff on, and the putts are dropping from was it? I don't know how many feet that putt in the ninth was from to
15,
wrap up.
yeah.
15 foot, and they're the sort of ones that we've seen. How many times we've been sat on the couch on a Saturday and Sunday evening watching Rory at a major or a regular PGA event, where those ones are slipping by and there's nothing he can do to drop them. When that sort of stuff comes on, or when if he does get a couple of shots lead, if he does continue to play aggressively, how is his game when he needs to sit back a bit if he's trying to protect a lead?
I don't think he can sit back in this PGA. I think he has to go for it. And the reason why he has to go for it, Adrian, is because his driving is so good at the moment. He hits it so far and so long and so straight that if he begins to get conservative in that area, then I think that could work against him. Because the key thing, though, is you have to hit the fairways. And Rory sometimes is not the best win player because he hits the ball so high. So he has to get the ball in the fairway. Everybody after their rounds would have said yesterday that if you're not in the fairway at Southern Hills, you're in trouble in terms of where you position your ball around those tight, small greens with the slopes on them. But if you're in the fairway, then you can attack the certain aspects of the greens. And that's what Rory was able to do yesterday. But momentum, again, a couple of putts he had for par that he sank earlier in the back nine of his round, kept him going. I think those short putts you mentioned, I think the thing about him is that he can't let the shoulders drop. He can't let the doubt seep into his mind. And that's why Harry Diamond is very important over the next 3 days as caddy, and everybody's working with that. He just needs to continue to feel that sense of looseness that he felt earlier in his career to go and win this Wanamaker Trophy for a third time in a fifth major.
It does feel like this weekend could be another referendum on Rory McIlroy's bottle. It felt the last day of the Masters, given how extraordinary he was almost fuel for people to say, well, he doesn't have the bottle. Where was he when it really mattered? Using the really positive last day as a stick to beat Rory with. If he doesn't win this, I suspect the same conversation will come back up, despite the fact that you mentioned the strength of the chasing pack. And he's got one stroke on the pack. He's not 8 strokes clear here. I say, this is not like the US Open at the halfway point in 2011. Now, in fairness, he did go on and win that. But he hasn't opened up a chasm yet. And I just think that this is going to be a pivotal moment in the narrative around Rory, whatever way this goes over the next 3 days.
Yeah, if he shoots another 65 today, the thing about it is, with the players, a lot of players, I think there's about 26 under par of 156. And if you can get to, say, 8 or 9 or 10, you're really talking about a tournament then, Eoin, that has maybe about 5 to 10 contenders in it. And that's when I think he's in a position where he can win this, because ultimately he just needs to back his game, because his game is suited to the course, because given he's an aggressive long driver. You've got to drive the ball well. I think the most important thing at Southern Hills is to drive the ball in the fairway. And then you can capitalise on that. Even Will Zalatoris, who people would go, and he missed a real tiddler yesterday, was still top the putting stats because he was very good with his long game, and that helped him to get to 4 under par. But Justin Thomas is somebody you've got to respect. He's won 14 times in the tour. Matt Fitzpatrick's playing very well. The Chileans, Joaquin Niemann, Mito Pereira up there. Even one of my boys, Patrick Cantlay, one of the most disastrous tips I think I've ever given since the last time I gave Patrick Cantlay a tip.
But Thomas Peters, though, is...
4 of my lads are under par. I've got Lucas Herbert at 250 to 1 was 2 under par. Thomas Peters 1 under par. Sandra Schauffele and Rory. Rory's my second pick. But Shane, I'm not so sure. Seamus Power, I think, is beginning still to... Well, he's still trying to find his way through majors. I think he's still he hasn't got enough reps in majors yet. Tiger, as I said, is physically... struggling.
Should we just come to grips with that's going to be Tiger? JD,
Yes,
we get a bit spoiled at the Masters. And
I think it's amazing to see Tiger there, to be honest, at all, even playing or teeing it up at a tournament. I think St Andrews would be much easier for him. I think physically it looks like it was a hot day yesterday in Oklahoma. Tiger, the sweat was just pouring off him in his interview with Sky Sports afterwards. So there's going to be shocks. You can easily find a situation, lads, where Rory McIlroy at times this weekend will not be in the lead. And how he responds, as you say, to that character test will be very instructive.
Let's use the 30 seconds before you leave us, JD, to flag up that what people should be tuned into and off the ball over the weekend.
Well, tomorrow, Football Saturday, David Myler joining the team. We're going to look ahead to the final day of the season and reminisce on Saipan 20 years on. We have also a Saturday panel on Cork hurling with 3 Cork hurling legends. I suppose it's really important to have the Tipperary game on Sunday. Racing as always with Johnny Ward, and then on Sunday, of course, we have commentary of Manchester City against Aston Villa, Stephen Doyle and Brian Kerr on the final day of the Premier League season, keeping you right up to date as well on Liverpool and Wolves.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, JD.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot. Chat on the PGA there and further afield as well. It is 10 to 9. Loads of comments still coming into us about loads of stuff, including Rick Jagger, who doesn't love JD on a Friday morning. JD, lots of love out there for you. So good stuff. Please do keep your comments coming in, whatever it is, about 10 to 9 Friday morning. Ronan O'Gara, good morning to you.
Hey Adrian, how are you?
How are you keeping?
Very well, yourself?
The nice quiet run into the season continues. Congratulations. We don't generally take time to say well done.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's back to another Champions Cup final, so it's fantastic. Yeah, very exciting. And then more immediately, top 14 game against Stade Francais tomorrow. So that's a huge game. So it's all big games, which makes it easy for everybody.
Do you give yourself time to congratulate yourself or enjoy the moment appreciate the moment of 2 finals in back-to-back is phenomenal?
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's great. But you want to try to win these finals. That's the next step. And there's people involved at that level understand that it's multi-dimensional to do that. So it's a process, but it is very exciting. Yeah, I did enjoy the end of the game with Donegal Ryan the last day because we played poorly, but it says something about our team to be able to win a semi-final playing poorly, and that's the most important thing. Semi-finals are all about getting to the final, and then in the final you obviously want to try and find a way to win a final, but I think you got to appreciate the small wins. It's very, very important.
How much time do you spend doing that? I knew you were going to say to me, listen, it's grand to get to the final, but you got to be winning them, and definitely. And maybe is there any part of you that's like, right, that's a story for another day, but for today, we enjoy this, we sit down as a group, we pat each other on the back about it, or, yeah, when you're enjoying it with Donegal on the pitches, it's sort of like, that's it, done, and we move on?
Well, it was a 6-day turnaround, that's always probably there. So you play Sunday evening, and all of a sudden the boys are recovering Monday, you're into Tuesday, and players need rest as well, and all of a sudden you arrive at Thursday and you've Stade Francais in 48 hours. So I think this Champions Cup semi-final is a huge event in itself. But I suppose before that we knew that Stade Francais was 6 days later, so there was an eye in terms of how we're going to recover. The planning was hugely important, and I think this week has gone well. We'll have a captain's run later on today, and then play tomorrow, and then after tomorrow you can start focusing on Marseille.
Is your sense that the focus on Marseille, a lot of the homework can be carried over from last year, or is it a completely blank canvas when it comes to that prep?
Yeah, it's completely blank canvas on. I think it's of, I suppose, even little significance in the fact that it was a game behind closed doors, and when you look back at that game, there's no emotion really in it, in the fact, because the place was empty. It was a soulless game, and so much has happened for both teams between that. It's different teams, different players. For me, it would be kind of an error to look at that as the focal point of your week. Leinster have got better, we've got better. I think it means very little.
How have you got better? Or what have you got better at?
I think in all parts of our game, you just, you get better, you get beaten, so you have to be. And I think mentally we've got better. I think in terms of how we play the game, I think our understanding of what kind of we want to do in different areas of the pitch has got better. But probably where we haven't got better is in terms of an 80-minute performance. And if we're to challenge Leinster, we'll need that 80-minute performance. But I think that's possible with the maybe with the experience of players we have here.
How different is it going to be for you to plan for a game with, like, I was looking at the Leinster team last night, there'll probably be 6 or so changes to the team that played you that day to the team that play you the next day. Injuries in the meantime notwithstanding, but the half-back pairing particularly should be different in that it'll probably be Gibson Park and Sexton. How different is it for you to prep for a game where Sexton's at 10?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, they have huge belief in what they want to do and how they want to play the game. So, Johnny Sexton's obviously a fantastic player, and he adds a lot to that team. But when Ross Byrne plays as well, he's very, very good in playing the way Leinster play. So, yeah, Johnny has a lot of X factor to him, and the fact that he's hugely experienced, and there isn't anyone more experienced in managing a game. So it'll be a different threat with him. They're most definitely driving that team around. And obviously Jameson Gibson Park's in the form of his life. I think he's playing sensational rugby, and it's just disappointing, I suppose, from my point of view, that we didn't have, a Carbarlo going against him. So from our point of view, it's already, 3 of the 4 halfbacks are probably going to be different. So it's a different game even before you start thinking about it.
How do you stop Sexton from controlling the game?
Well, you got to deprive him of the ball. That's where Leinster are exceptional in terms of their ruck speed and in terms of, I suppose, control and possession. That's where they've had advantage over other teams. So from our point of view is that if we can try and get 48% possession, 50% possession, 52% possession, 55% possession, that would probably put us in a good position in the game.
Can I ask you about Ohio West last weekend, Ronan? Somebody who maybe struggled a little bit off the tee during the match and then obviously gets the pivotal score late on in the game. Were you thinking to yourself, I've been that soldier out there myself? Does it help you relate to him given the position you played as a professional rugby player?
Yeah, I understand it exactly, but I think where I back him is the fact that I see the work he's doing, I suppose, in the shade or behind the scenes. So he's working hard and on his goal kick, and I think that's very, very important. It'd be different if it was kind of, we'll see how it goes on the day attitude. It's the opposite of that. So from my point of view, I've seen his timing around the goal kicking has hugely improved. I think, it's fascinating what pressure sometimes does, and hopefully that's probably great learning from last weekend. Was it the fact that he tightened up a little bit, that he made him push his kicks? But I think from knowing his character, I would be pretty surprised if he repeats that in the next game.
Is there ever a consideration mid-game? I think the answer to this question is no, given what you've just said, but is there ever a consideration to pull somebody off the kicking, or is that and not even about West in general here, but as a more general point, is that ever a consideration for a coach, given the extra damage that could do to a player's confidence?
Yeah, it is. The easy thing would be to say no, it isn't, but you're right. I think every kind of possibility goes through your head. What's best for the team? How do we get over the finishing line here in first place? So you've got to contemplate every single thing, and that's, I think, why we have to stay on as coaches and stay on as decision makers. And the fact that you may see something and your gut reaction could say, okay, pull the trigger on that and do that, but you're obviously, it can't come into your head that I'm hurting some players' emotions here by withdrawing them from the fray. You have to think of everything live, I suppose, replacements in a game, and that's my job.
And I presume the later in the season it gets, the more acute that feeling is, because there isn't a whole pile of extra games in which the confidence can be there for the stakes get higher, the importance of each game gets bigger.
Exactly, and that's the life of a kicker, and the life of a kicker comes to life in big pressure games, and that's the point we've discussed on this show on many occasions. Pressure might only hit you once a season. It may not hit you. It could hit you 2 or 3 times a season. But I think goal kickers understand that, and they realise what's involved in that. But I think to neutralise that, or to make yourself feel confident, you draw confidence from the amount of work you have done, I suppose, off the pitch in terms of Monday to Friday, and then you're looking for transfer on game day.
Are those decisions always straightforward, Ronan? Just like that call there about like taking a player off, that like the human condition about inertia, that you just keep going and you hope and pray that it's going to come right. But in that moment, obviously, you got a really finite window to say we got to change this. Are those calls always really clear? Are you always sure you're doing the right thing, or are you always second guessing yourself?
No, I don't know. You're second guessing yourself, but sometimes, to go back to what you said at the start of the question, that's the definition of insanity. Is letting the same scenario repeat itself and not providing a solution for it. So,
do you ever think about the long-term impact? Like you mentioned just about Ohio West there, and like you can't think about his. I can't remember the word you used, maybe emotions or whatever, but like there's also your longer term responsibility to him to get the best out of him for the next game, or selfishly and for him personally. Are you ever thinking about that stuff, or is it just I got to fix this right now and here we go?
No, you have to be. It's a global vision that's involved in this, and the most important thing is that you have a consideration for your player and you have a huge responsibility mentally for him, but you also have a responsibility for what's best for the team. And I think it's very hard, for us to probably generalise about this because it's such a super specific subject matter. So, you have to be conscious of the impact you're going to have on the person, but also the impact you're going to have on the team. And if one person has to suffer for 40 others, then sometimes that's what's best in sport. But you have to be very aware of I suppose, the potential harmful consequences you may cause to an individual.
Is possession that you talked about there, trying to get it up above that 50% mark, is that the best way to not nullify but diminish Leinster's quick ruck speed?
Yeah, we have to attack. And if you attack, you need the ball. So to need the ball, you have to be very, very, I suppose, focused on how you want to play the game. If we play the game like we did in Lens, then we turn over the ball 8 to 10 times really poorly. So against a top team like Leinster, that's going to put you in trouble, in deep trouble. So for us, we've seen that, in terms of just irrespective of what the opposition is, there are certain things, fundamentals in our game that we need to be better at, and it also becomes more difficult when you're up against the most performing team in the competition so far this year.
They're like, it's funny that two teams are maybe similar in loads of ways. The excitement that they bring to the play, the KBA approach, that maybe, as you say, it wasn't everything you wanted to be at the weekend, but they're also sort of slightly different in other ways, in the sense that like maybe your team play a lot more what's in front of them, and Leinster's excitement almost comes from a bit more structure. Is that your reading of it?
I actually don't know much in terms of what happens at Leinster behind the scenes, obviously, and how they go about it. But from our point of view, there's big preparation in how we prepare to play and how we want to play the game. I would say I would be also a firm believer in you get the best of an individual if he can play freely. What does playing freely look like? I think that his brain isn't cluttered with too much information, but also there's a strict framework around how we want to play. You can't just expect to go to a final and trust your instincts. That for me is nonsense. So yeah, we'll have certain things that we are not diluting our game with, but I think it's very important when you have scenarios which are, I suppose, in the chaos, that players have the capacity to accelerate them and take decisions that they feel are best in the moment.
Is Will Skelton going to play?
No, he won't be playing this weekend anyway, unless I have a medical meeting at lunchtime today. It's a day-by-day process with Will, but very important player for this group, for what we want to do in Europe, what we want to do in the top 14. So, I think I've spoken to him. I've told him that I expect to see him at pre-season, but I don't think he accepts that, so we'll wait and see.
Chance whatever about this weekend, chance that he's fit for the following?
There's a chance in everything.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
At what point over the weeks between a semi-final and a final, and feel free to bring in your playing experience here as well, do nerves start to set in, or does the sense of expectation and occasion set in?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's something we'll have to address as a group as well, because it's The feedback from the semi-final was the boys were nervous, which shouldn't be a surprise, yet it probably shook me a little bit in the fact that I was thinking it's a semi-final of a Champions Cup. It's against a French team. We know these guys inside out. We know what their strengths are. We know where their weaknesses are. So we should be okay. But you forget that the Champions Cup semi-final is still very, very special, and that I suppose really, I suppose, crystallised at the start of this conversation was you're getting to another Champions Cup final is a fantastic achievement, and the boys aren't robots and they have huge feelings and they're going to be very excited, and Marseille is a special stadium. It's going to be pumping, and yeah, it's something that will definitely have an impact, because I think as a player, when you pass as a coach, you quickly forget what it feels like as a player. And I remember obviously my first European Cup final, and physically I was there, but mentally you weren't there. So there's so much, I suppose, when you get to a certain experience or age, you appreciate that strategy is hugely important. But if the strategy is completely passing over their heads in the live action, then it shows that we haven't, I suppose, prepared our players well enough mentally to be able to be performing in such a big occasion.
Are the nerves at a similar level when you have your first experience as an out half in a final compared to your first experience as a head coach in a final?
No, poles apart, I think. It's just no, I don't have nerves as a coach. It's strange, I just don't. I kind of made that commitment to myself. I couldn't continue, as I said, as I operated as a player, as I did as a coach. It's not sustainable. It's not enjoyable. It's glass half empty, glass 9/10 empty actually. So for me, that's not an interesting way to live my life anymore. I kind of find the good, the opportunity, the possibilities in what's in store in the day, in the next few hours, in the next few weeks, in the next few months. So what an occasion. It's La Rochelle against Leinster in the Champions Cup final. I would have done anything at the start of the season to get this. That's the honest response to your question, and I'm going to enjoy the week and I'm going to enjoy the game, and I genuinely am.
Because you've alluded to that on the show before, and I often wonder how you do that, because it's easy to say be less nervous, worry less, stop being so negative, but
you
actually
care
going
about something so much, Jesus, how did you manage to arrive at that point where you've actually achieved that?
I think that's what experience is. That's what we all understand. What experience tells you, that when you have the same situation, you want to do it better the next time. I think it's between different teams. I think I'm going to my 7th Champions Cup final, so it's fantastic, and that's something that I gotta embrace and gotta enjoy and got to be really, really happy with. And you can't just be an act. You've got to be genuine. You've got to be authentic, and this has got to be the way you are in front of your players, in front of the public, in front of the supporters. And I genuinely feel that I've prepared the team well. I can sleep at night. I enjoy the journey. I want to make this a special time for the players in this club. So I can't guarantee that we're going to win the thing. Far from it, but you're going to give it your best shot, and I think that sits well with me.
Yeah, I think for the rest of us looking in, we're interested to see is Ronan O'Gara, the coach, going to be as good as Ronan O'Gara, the player? Probably not a fair question to ask you, but and you're bang in the middle of it as well. So Des has an interesting question in here, and it's obviously the penultimate weekend of top 14 games as well, and you're agonisingly close now to squeaking into that top 6. He was asking if you can ask Rog how he feels about Leinster resting players this weekend, and maybe more importantly, you having to play a crunch match.
I don't think it's I don't think you can compare the two. It's two completely different scenarios, and for us, I'll comment on what I control and what we're doing, and that's we've picked a team to beat Stade Francais tomorrow because of what has happened previously and because of the duration and the intensity of the top 14. There are players picked tomorrow that won't be playing in Marseille, and that's the way it is. You have to kind of believe in your planning, believe in your group. So for me, it's a fantastic situation where we're alive in both competitions, a competition with so much history and prestige in the top 14, and so much interest, but also we're down to the final 2 in the Champions Cup. So yeah, everything is carefully planned. Team selection is hugely important. What Leinster do, what we do, I can control.
Just before we let you off, I wanted to ask you at the top, just we were having that chat about the reaction post the game. What's the buzz like when you get in home after a game like that? Is everybody at home tuned into the fact that Dad's going to be coming back? This is a good day. He's going to be happy. Or the train is still alive here, or could they give two hoots about it?
In the day, Jess was more interested. Was I doing the school run Monday morning at 7 o'clock?
Well, she was tweeting about, was it La Rogelet?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not up to speed with her social media. But, if she's not on the beach horse riding, then she's tweeting. So just need to keep an eye on her.
And what about the kids? Are they attuned to everything that's going on, or no?
Yeah, they love it.
Do they?
Absolutely love it. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they were gutted. They weren't in Lawns, which is probably, I'd say, the first time ever for Champions Cup semi-final that the families weren't there, but there was no planes available really, or there was planes available. They were at bizarre prices. It's an 8-hour bus trip one way, so like 16 hours on a Sunday with school the next day. It doesn't work. So it's great. It puts everything in perspective, you know. The show goes on. We're all consumed by a Champions Cup final, but the great thing is that we have our health, and there'll be a Monday morning irrespective after Marseille.
And they'll go to Marseille, which I presume?
Yes, they will. Yeah, they'll be there, absolutely. And yeah, hopefully my brothers can get on a few of the Leinster flights coming out of Dublin to Marseille as well.
Just to mix it up with a bit of yellow. Absolutely. Why not? Good man. Listen, best of luck over the next few weeks. Thanks.
Yes, see you boys. Thank you.
Ronan O'Gara on the line there. It's 10 minutes past 9. It's Friday morning. We're watching OTB AM. I want to give you a reminder as well, by the way, that our first road show in 3 years is nearly here. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this over the last few weeks, but the Football Pod Live is headed for Castlebar at the Royal Theatre June 2nd. Paddy, James, Tommy are all going to be there, and there'll be a couple of special guests as well. One is going to be revealed probably on Monday. He is an absolute Mayo legend. Sail as close to the win there as we possibly can without revealing the name, but Monday is the time to stay tuned for. And if you want to get tickets ahead of that event, it's going to be head along to otbsports.com/events. €20 plus booking fees is where you can get sorted for that. Now here's what's happening at OTB Sports Radio across the day. 1 o'clock 1 o'clock is going to be Leo Scullion. I think there's going to be Kickoff before that from 10:30, marking a card for the final weekend of Premier League action as well. Live Friday night racing from 3 o'clock today, Pat Fenlon. 4 o'clock, subject of Team 33's classic interview there, and then John Hartson on the Champions League from 6 this evening. You can follow Off the Ball across all of our social platforms, of course, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, download the OTB Sports app, and enjoy the latest and best in sports content and analysis. We're going to be back after these ads. It's the return of the crappy quiz, including a debut contestant.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The team of OTB are taking on a challenge that requires fitness, a challenge that demands months of training and preparation, a challenge that requires knowing when to push and when to focus on recovery. Triathlons aren't easy, but having a fitness coach helps.
Whoop are helping us non-athletes.
You need all the help you can get.
Yeah, as I was saying, helping us non-athletes feel like pros in our challenge to complete a triathlon this summer.
OTB Sports, in partnership with Whoop. Unlock your inner potential with Whoop, the personalised digital fitness and health coach that provides you with actionable feedback on your sleep, training, recovery and health. Check out whoop.com for more.
This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here is where it all starts. From the little ones learning to the high-performance athletes leading. Here we go to play, to practice, to progress. Here is where communities in the nation come together to compete, to win, and to belong. Here we go to the next level, then on to the world stage. This is Sport Ireland Campus, and here we go. Visit sportirelandcampus.ie to be a part of it.
Paddy, I go, what? He goes, Paddy Andrews. I go, yeah. As he goes, this is James' house. He's upstairs. Will I get him?
The Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue are bringing the show on the road. The first stop for Ireland's biggest and best GAA pod will be the Royal Theatre in Castlebar on Thursday, June 2nd, as Paddy, James, Tommy and special guests dissect, analyse and celebrate Mayo football, as well as getting stuck into the runners and riders for Championship 2022. Tickets are €20 plus booking fees and are on sale now. See otbsports.com/events for more.
OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.
Chris Waddle.
Oh, you're kidding me. September.
Kyle Lafferty.
Are you joking me?
Is that right?
I know, it's not right.
Anybody else?
Leash, was it?
Like, that is one of the most stupid questions.
Darius Vassell?
Seriously, you all need to just stay quiet. This is getting really annoying doing this quiz.
What is going on here?
Welcome along to the shoutiest segment on Irish radio. It's the scintillating, it's the stupefying, it's the splendido, crappy quiz. Every Friday we pit three of Team Off the Ball up against each other in our no-holds-barred quiz of sporting factoids at the end of the week. Allow me to welcome today's contestants. Our first contestant looked at his children with disgust at Croke Park last weekend as they opted for hot dogs and chips rather than eating his specially prepared mustard and tarragon chicken rolls with a side of brie. A glass and a half of Vega Sicilia was needed to get over the disgust. Give it up for Adrian. Who's your daddy, Barry?
No, I mean, outside of the extravagance of the dishes you're talking about there, which sound absolutely delicious on. No, I had a Tupperware thing of, I mean, this it reveals more about my personality than Tommy's like, oh, what a middle-aged, boring. A big thing of pasta.
Oh, yeah?
So you have to come prepared. If you have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old with you, you don't want to be left in the Anthony Moyle situation of, like, having no food and the kids looking at you, you know.
Who was the pasta for?
For the kids.
Oh, okay, not for you.
What kind of pasta?
No. Just plain pasta, Tommy, a bit of olive oil on it. I had that. I'd made up a couple of wraps before we left.
That sounds grim.
There's nothing. There's nothing that nothing they love more on.
No way.
We did go for.
So
absolutely.
Them.
Huh?
That's you trained them to just enjoy playing.
No,
pasta.
they just love it. They just love it.
Carb loading season in the Barry household.
We did go for chips in good time though. Unlike Moilsey, and we got well sorted with a couple of right big punnets of lovely crispy chips, and they delved into them and they loved them.
Nice.
And they had great
That's
seeds.
great.
That sounds
I
good.
hope, Adrian, they don't decide that's what the Leinster Championship is going to be like going forward. I hope you bring them to some provincial ground sometime and let them experience the ferocity of a real game of football.
I was down in Mullingar a couple of weeks previously for the Longford game, Tommy, and I'm not going to lie, that's probably going to be the highlight of their Westmeath sporting days because the young fella's already got the blue and black headband on him. Whereas the 3-year-old, she's still all aboard. Liverpool and Westmeath, she says, are two big teams. She told me yesterday she hopes they never play. So hopefully the GAA can just make sure that whatever the Tailteann Cup throws up, it just keeps Liverpool and Westmeath apart. Because
be like a John Aldridge testimonial or something.
Not sure, because they're in her mind they're basically the same colours as well. Very good.
Our next contestant loves his home county and will follow them through thick and thin through the back door. Yes, they are still recovering from a tough loss in the provincial championship, and despite playing Division 2 football this year, he believes they can rebound and make it back to Croke Park. That's right, he really does think Clare have a chance this year. Give it up for the Meath hillbilly Tommy Rooney.
Hey, Eoin.
You're very welcome.
I'm surprised the words turncoat didn't slip in there somewhere. But,
no, you'd need photographic evidence for such a thing, Tommy.
Oh. Yeah, we get precious about things like that, don't we?
We certainly do. We won't go any further on that particular topic of conversation. Just Google Tommy Rooney and go to Google Images for anybody who wants context. Although I think context. Although I think that's been deleted. Our final contestant.
It's on everyone's phone now.
Our final contestant for the first time in his life is finally going to challenge himself on an intellectual level by joining today's crappy quiz. Does he have the brains to match his street smarts? Today we find out. It's Arthur O, PhD.
Yes. Wow.
Debutante, you're welcome.
Welcome, thank you very much.
Good to join us. It is Arthur versus Tommy versus Adrian. A very novel pairing, I think it's fair to say. The format
Jesus Christ, it's basically the Tailteann Cup is what you're saying. Is that?
This could go anywhere. I usually try and put the pressure on somebody when they're making a crappy quiz debut, but I do not feel confident. I'm a long time out of the game here. Arthur, you have a serious chance, boy, today.
Yeah, a lot of YouTube comments looking for Tommy's return, so that person or people are satisfied
A
today.
lot of comments, all from the same person.
The format is a classic crappy quiz with a series of questions on a range of themes, and it's onto the slip and slide of trivia, which is the rapid fire round. You can podcast the crappy quiz on otbsports.com or on the OTB Sports app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click the thumbs up, even if we contribute nothing but misery to your day. Please send any questions you have via postcard to Crappy Quiz Quizmaster, Off the Ball Towers, Marconi House, Diggs Lane, Dublin 2. And we did get questions in via direct message, and they're coming into our boring questions round. I will get the name of that person very shortly. Question 1 for Adrian. The details of Ireland's rugby tour to New Zealand in the summer was confirmed recently, but can you name the 3 cities the matches will take place in?
I haven't paid any attention to the cities at all. Auckland.
Yes.
Wellington.
Yes.
Surely they will do the other most obvious one, which is Christchurch.
No.
Dunedin?
It's Dunedin. Shout out to Kieran Burke, who sent in the questions for the boring questions round and also sent in the pass the parcel round for later. Thanks a million for getting in touch. Tommy, question 1 for you. Can you name either of the teams that competed in the first ever Football All-Ireland that contained jersey sponsors?
Silence there. Is there a bad line to Claire or what's happening?
You on mute?
No, he's thinking. Look at him trying to buy time, look.
Can I get a year? No.
No.
I mean, that would make the point of the question totally redundant, Tommy.
I'm going to say Dublin Tyrone.
No. Anyone fancy a guess? That one, it was Down Meath in 1991, which was the first.
How were you to know that, Tommy?
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was early 90s, but I just thought it might be. I just thought that the Dubs may have been the first to commercialise the game.
Yeah.
Arthur, can you name 6 of the top 10 players from the island of Ireland with the most appearances made in the Premier League?
Footballers. Obviously,
Footballers.
Yeah.
6 of the top 10.
6 of the top 10.
Ah, Jesus.
Roy Keane.
Jesus.
Yeah, but if you put a foot wrong, you're in trouble.
So it's just, okay, 6 on the
6
bands.
of 10, it's hard to put a foot wrong there,
Yeah, well.
Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Shea Given.
Yes.
Dennis Irwin.
Yes.
Richard Dunn.
Yes.
Robbie Keane.
Yes.
Damien Duff.
Correct. He's off the mark.
Seamus Coleman.
Arthur.
Seamus Coleman. No, you would have been out straight away.
Ah, there we go.
Kenny Cunningham, Robbie Keane, Rory Delap, Stephen Carr, and you got the rest. Yeah, fair play. Off the mark. Round 2 is the Pass the Parcel of Doom round with a twist round. Yes, that's right. We are bringing back the round that almost destroyed the crappy quiz from within last time. Did I get strong-armed into bringing this? Sorry. Did I get strong-armed into bringing this round of the crappy quiz?
What has Colm written for me here?
I have no idea what I was trying to say there, but it is, as I say, we're very, very keen to give credit to everybody in this quiz for all the good work that they do. So Colm Boohig has once again decided that we are doing this round. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to give you a year. Each of you are going to get 1 year. And from that year, all you got to do is name the winners and runners-up of 3 competitions from that year. So 6 points are on offer here.
That's a good game.
So Adrian, your year is 2012. We're going with you first, and we're doing these 3 competitions.
And you're going to give me a competition.
Yeah. So the first competition is the Heineken Cup from 2012.
So you're asking me to give you the winner and the runner-up
Yes.
from the Heineken Cup of 2012.
Yes.
Could you not have just come at the question that way as opposed to this ridiculously convoluted?
Give me the winner and runner-up.
2012.
Going to need to be very quick here because we've got 2 more to go through. TikTok.
Hang on.
10 seconds, Adrian.
No seconds. No, don't give me any seconds. Was
5,
it
4,
Wasps?
3, and Wasps and
Leinster.
Who won?
Leinster.
Okay, I'll give you 1 point. It was Leinster Ulster. Who won the Women's Six Nations? Who came second? Come on, quicker this time.
What are we talking about here? 2012?
Yes.
Who won the Women's Six Nations in 2012?
And who came second? Winner, runner up. It's the same for all of these.
England won it.
Correct.
And
good guess.
Wales were runner up.
No, France were. Men's 100 metre sprint at the Olympic Games.
Who was winner and who was runner up?
Yes.
You know the winner.
What'd you say? 100 metres?
Yes.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
And Asafa Powell?
No, Johan Blake. Well done, Adrian. You got 3 points there, so you go into the lead. Tommy, your year is 2009. Can you give me the winners and runners-up of the All-Ireland Football Championship. And runners-up, obviously.
Kerry. Oh, sorry.
Oh, he's battling it.
2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Kerry Cork.
Yeah. The PDC World Darts Championship.
Oh, that is a stinker.
The Power and was Van Gerwen old enough back then?
Was he old enough?
No, he wasn't. It was Van Barnevelds. And the National Hurling League.
Wait, did I get 1 point there, no?
You got 1 point for Taylor, yeah, so you're on 3. The National Hurling League in 2009.
2009 National Hurling League. Winners, runners up. 2009, because it mattered so much.
Come on.
Tip Kilkenny.
Which? Come on now. You have to specify here.
Yeah, who won who?
Random names.
Tip won the league.
And Kilkenny were runners up.
I can't give you anything there. It was the exact opposite though. Kilkenny won Tip for second.
Guess, Tommy.
Do I not get?
No.
Yeah,
See, that's the beauty of Colm is just laughing in glee out there. Finally, his round has created the drama he was looking for.
What?
So you get
But
3
like-
points. But what can I do? I mean,
nothing.
blame Tipperary's tactics. Arthur.
Yeah.
Your year is 2015. Can you name?
What? He gets to what?
Can you name the winners and runners-up of the All-Ireland Hurling
got
Championship,
2009.
the Formula One Drivers' Championship, and the Europa League?
I love that you give Arthur all in one go because you know that he's got the mental prowess to be able to handle that.
You can actually.
Was having Tommy here like, what did you say first there?
15, sorry, All-Ireland Hurling Final. That
Yeah.
was Kilkenny
That's a joke.
won,
That's a joke.
and they defeated Galway.
Yeah, so that's your All-Ireland Hurling Championship. The Formula One Drivers' Championship.
Presumably Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel.
No, Hamilton and Rosberg, but I'll give you a point.
Okay, and the last one?
The Europa League.
2015 Europa League. Was that them? No, that wasn't the one here.
You got one banker there anyway.
Sevilla and Liverpool.
No, Nipro.
Oh.
In
We could have been here for a while.
2015. So Arthur, you're in the lead. You're on 5 points. Tommy got 3 points. Adrian got 3 points. Colm is clapping in the
Shit
box.
round again.
Our round, but mostly Colm has done very, very well.
Well, he got 4 there and he had 1 coming in.
Okay, he got 4 there. I thought he got 3 there. Okay,
Round 3 is the actual Pass the Parcel of Doom round. In this round, all you got to do is give me the
Now that
name
we've replaced it with that, Arthur.
that
can
is
we
on
not
a
just
list of names,
do something
and
normal?
the Parcel of Doom passes on to the next contestant, who then also has to give me a name. We will go and keep moving through the list until one of you gives me an incorrect answer or can't give me an answer, at which point that person is eliminated. Go on, Tommy.
Can I just say I haven't been here for a long time, so it's nice to be back. But I like that round, the one just before it.
Good man.
I didn't like the difference that Arthur got 6 years of a head start on me, but I did like the round.
He comes back from the States and he's like, this
All positivity.
All positivity. like.
Home of the brave, the land of the free. Life is positive. It's the other way around, actually, I think, in that phrase. Adrian, okay, can you name any British team to win a European football competition in their history? So, Champions League, European Cup, Europa League, UEFA Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, Intercity Fairs, or Intertoto Cup. There's a blank canvas for you, Adrian. Kick us off here.
Celtic.
Celtic is correct. It goes to Tommy next.
Manchester United.
Manchester United. Arthur.
Leeds United.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Correct.
Spurs.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest is correct.
Villa.
Aston Villa, yeah.
Rangers.
Rangers is correct. Cup Winners' Cup.
Didn't Fulham?
No, you're out.
They got to the final.
They got to the final, yeah, and we're
I
beaten.
had more on.
That's a shame. Tommy?
It's so hard to track what's been said already. If I say somebody who's already been said,
You're out.
Are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, they've been said. Aberdeen.
Correct. Good shout.
Oof.
West Ham.
West Ham is correct. It's Intertoto Cup and Cup Winners' Cup.
Said. Surely they've won a UEFA Cup.
Come on.
No, I can't.
Come on. Give us
You want a team, not a name now.
Come
on.
on.
The name of a team.
5, 4, 3.
Hold on, he's not actually counting here, is he?
2.
Arsenal.
Correct. Cup Winners' Cup and Intercity Fairs.
But didn't I say it already?
No.
I think so. Did Newcastle win the Inter-Toto Cup?
They did.
Great.
Hold on, what?
Tommy.
He asked the question. He never said it.
I'm saying Newcastle.
Oh, that was his
In
answer.
fairness,
No, he said-
Adrian got knocked out when he said we're Fulham won, and
Yeah.
so
Newcastle were my other
for the
coach.
sake of pace, the first team that you name, I have to accept. Tommy.
He's struggling here.
I know. Yeah, well, I am struggling. Yeah. So hard to keep on top of what was said, lads.
The next one is a monster, so I'm going to have to really push you quickly here, Tommy.
That's where Arthur comes into his own with that whole intellectual thing.
Derby County.
Derby County is not correct. Arthur gets the point. Okay, Tommy, you kick us off on this one. It's 6-3.
Wait, who was the last one?
Oh, sorry. Everton, Ipswich, Manchester City.
Oh, Ipswich.
City.
Ipswich.
Was that it?
Yeah.
All right.
So you did pretty well. Tommy, you kick us off here. Can you name any player included in the 31-man 2019 Rugby World Cup squad for Ireland?
This'll test you.
Tyke Furlong.
Tyke Furlong. It goes to Arthur next.
Sorry, Johnny Sexton.
Johnny Sexton, yeah.
Murray.
Murray is correct.
Jack Carty.
Jack Carty is correct.
Cian Healy.
Cian Healy is correct.
Rob Kearney.
Rob Kearney, yeah.
Henderson.
Ian Henderson, yeah.
Rory Best.
Rory Best. Yeah, I'm actually kind of like struggling to keep up with the names here myself.
We go slow for you, Owen.
No. Quick, pace, quick.
Bundyaki.
Yeah, correct.
Henshaw.
Yeah.
Ringrose.
Yeah.
James Ryan.
James Ryan is correct.
Ty Byrne.
Ty Byrne is correct.
Keith Earls.
Keith Earls, yeah.
Joey Carberry.
Joey Carberry is correct.
Conway.
Conway, yeah.
Peter O'Mahony.
Peter O'Mahony is correct.
Jack Conan.
Jack Conan is correct.
Porter.
Porter is correct.
No, I feel I've hit my limit now. No, Dave Kearney.
Dave Kearney didn't make it, no. Adrian.
Dan Levy.
Dan Levy did not make it. Remember, he got injured earlier that year. Tommy, well done. You get the point here.
Thank you.
The remaining names: Chris Farrell, Jordan Larmour, Luke McGrath, Jacob Stockdale, Sean Cronin, Dave Kilcoyne, Sean Klein, Rhys Ruddock, John Ryan, Niall Scannell, CJ Stander and Josh van der Fleer. Arthur, you can kick us off on this one. Can you name any stadium to have hosted a Champions Cup / Heineken Cup final?
Ooh, was the one in... Is it San Mamés in Bilbao?
Yeah.
Whoa, Jesus Christ. That's one you say for... is my go?
Yeah, yes.
Twickenham.
Twickenham is correct. A load of them.
Diviva.
Diviva is correct.
Oof. Stade de France.
Yeah. Adrian rapidly typing into Google here. It's okay.
Stade Marseille Michelin.
Stade Marseille Michelin has not hosted a Champions
Are you kidding me?
Final. I'm not kidding you.
I think that's... Is that right?
It is right, yeah.
There's more. Again, I have more here.
Unfortunately.
What do you mean you have more?
Tommy.
I have more to say, Tommy.
Tommy, you're next.
Damn it.
Murrayfield.
Murrayfield is correct.
The Principality.
Yes.
Hang on now a second.
Is it?
Did the Principality hold a Heineken Cup final? I don't think it did.
What?
No.
No.
Hang on.
You know what? It's not. Principality is not written in front of me, Arthur. So I'm going to have to eliminate you. But I know what you meant. But because if it was any of the other two guys, I absolutely would have kicked them out. And I got to be consistent here.
What did I get wrong? What did I get wrong?
It was the Millennium Stadium when it hosted the finals.
So.
What do you mean? So it's the answer.
It's the tight.
No. The
Unfortunately,
Principality never actually never held a Heineken Cup final.
It's the crap
Never holds it. Final. Tommy, you get the point there. The remaining ones.
I don't know why I'm battling on Tommy's behalf, by the way. That's,
it makes it more interesting, at least. The remaining
I
ones.
had Raven Hill next. Was that in?
No, you would have been knocked out.
Murrayfield.
Ashton Gate, Bristol.
I said Murrayfield.
Cardiff Arms Park. Joseph Conroy's been in touch with me to say, here, Arthur has been screwed over.
It's the crappy quiz. It's the crappy quiz.
To be fair,
man in the room.
I will say this just for consistency's sake. First of all, I didn't come up with this round. Second of all, there was separate answers for Aviva Stadium and Lansdowne Road. So you could have said Lansdowne Road and you could have said Aviva Stadium, which was said.
Yeah,
and I would have accepted both because they're separate things.
We're so beholden to sponsors of these things.
No, but it's the name of the stadium. I do think we have to be like if this quiz is about anything, it's about accuracy and clarity and
you said Leinster and Wasps without naming the winner earlier on. Now I said nothing. He gave you a point.
No, Leinster did win that.
But he didn't say Leinster. He said Wasps first.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I got asked about Kilkenny Tipperary. So I want
I was clearly saying Leinster won it.
Will we let Arthur back in?
I was assuming. No, we won't. I was assuming that was the gimme tap in.
Tommy, do you want to let Arthur back in?
Scandals.
No, okay.
I can't believe the quizmaster is asking the contestants would they like to let. This is a new thing that I think.
Democracy rules.
What's it called?
Sorry, Arthur.
The Chase. They should say, listen.
Can I ask one question? Right. Did the Principality Stadium have a roof that could close and retract?
Listen, we've moved on, Tommy. It's done.
Ashton Gate, Bristol, Cardiff Arms Park, Grand Stade de Lyon, Lansdowne Road, Millennium Stadium, Parc de France, Parc Les Cures, Bordeaux, and St James's Park, Newcastle were the remaining answers. Round 4 is the Fun Free Magic number round. Arthur is still in the lead. Don't worry. Contestants get 3 points for getting the number exactly right. If no one manages that, the nearest contestant who doesn't go bust gets 2 points. The second closest gets 1 point. I'm going to state that we can only accept the answer that's written on your paper. I'm also going to have to ask for your pens once the music ends. So if you don't mind, give us the following number. The number of times Rory McIlroy has won the PGA Championship, plus the number of years since Derry last appeared in an Ulster football final, plus the number of Premier League games won by Everton this season, plus the number of trophies Jurgen Klopp has won as a Liverpool manager. Your 30 seconds expire when Sinatra sings Bright Shiny Beats. So we have the number of times Rory McIlroy has won the USPGA, the number of years since Derry last appeared in an Ulster senior football final, the number of Premier League games Everton have won this season, and the number of trophies Jurgen Klopp has won as Liverpool manager. Add them all up. What do you get? Write it down.
What was this? Sorry, what was the second one again, Owen?
The second one was the number of years since Derry last appeared in an Ulster final. Okay, so Arthur, what have you got?
I think I'm going to Hames it out. 47.
47, Adrian?
26.
26, Tommy?
Jesus, 30.
Tommy's got it bang on.
Oh, wow.
Wow, how the turntables. He is in the lead.
How the turntables.
The number of times.
What? Do I get no points now because of that?
You get no points.
Surely that's not right.
That's the truth.
Seriously?
It's the truth.
No, but that's bullshit, Tommy. You have to accept that. Come on.
No, you don't understand. There are 3 points. There are 3 points on offer in this round every single week. If somebody gets all three, there's no more for you.
Well, it should be made that.
He got it bang on. That's the whole point. He killed you. Rory McIlroy won the USPGA Championship twice. 2012, 2014. Derry appeared in an Ulster final 11 years ago.
9.
Everton have won 11 games this season.
8.
And Jurgen Klopp has won 6 trophies as Liverpool manager. Premier League, FA Cup, EFL Cup, Champions League, Super Cup, Club World Cup. 30 is the total there, which moves Tommy to 8 points. Arthur, you're on 6 points. Adrian, you're on 3. Our winner tonight will be decided in the round that separates the men from the boys, the Tony Kellys from the Tony Hawks. It's a no team in particular, ridiculously easy rapid fire round. The score you get in this round will be added to your score in the previous round, and there will be 40 seconds for everyone to answer from the same set of questions. We're going to start with Tommy, then on to Arthur, and then on to Adrian. If you get a question correct, I'll keep asking you questions until you get one wrong. And once you get a question wrong, I'll move on to the next person. And you get deducted a point if you get one wrong. So,
what's the score?
8-6-3. Tommy, are you ready?
Yep.
Your 40 seconds starts now. Who knocked Germany out of last year's Euros? Too long. Sorry, England, yeah. In what year did Donegal last win in All-Ireland, Tommy?
2011.
No, 12. 40. In what county is world champion Lisa O'Rourke from, Arthur?
Roscommon.
Correct. Over what distance did Rashida Adeleke break her latest Irish record?
400.
Correct. Which of these players won a Grand Slam more recently? Medvedev or Thiem?
Medvedev.
Correct. What club does Michael Obafemi play for?
Swansea on loan.
Correct. Who won the award for Scottish Premiership Manager of the season this year?
Ange Postecoglou.
Correct. Who is the all-time top scorer in Championship hurling?
Patrick Horgan.
Correct. Who is the Fulham manager?
Marco Silva.
Correct.
Well done, Arthur.
Absolutely. Ran the table. Arthur O, PhD, is a brand new champion. What do you have to say for yourself?
I look forward to Phil Egan.
Oh, bring them on. Bring them on. It
Well
is
done, Arthur.
absolutely-
Fair play. Not even the Principality / Millennium / Arms Bar could stop you. Well
We
done.
tried our best to screw him over, but he survives the challenges. OTB AM has been brought to you live each morning this week by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. We are back Monday morning from 7:30 with reaction to the final round of the Premier League with Mark Lawrenson. We've got hurling with Taggy Fogarty and much more. The football kickoff, remember, is live from 10:30 this morning. Phil Egan, Colm, Boohig and Damien Delaney will be on show for that one. And right now we're leaving you with Gavan Casey, who joined Will on last night's show to talk about Amy Broadhurst and Lisa O'Rourke's fantastic victories at the World Championships in Turkey yesterday. Have a good weekend. Chat to you on Monday.
That is €25,101.01. All you have to do is text the word play to 57599. Get your entry in by that is €25,101.01. All you have to do is text the word play to 57599. Get your entry in by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Then you're going to be playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Barry Dunn will be making the crucial call. If your phone rings, you have to answer within 5 rings. Tell him that exact amount in euro and cent, and you will win all of that cash. So remember that amount again, €25,101.01. It's over 18s only. Text costs $2.50 plus your standard message rate to play, and you will be playing across the Go Loud network of stations. And terms and conditions are available on newstalk.com.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back to the second hour of tonight's Off the Ball. Latest scores from the Premier League and from the League of Ireland. Shamrock Rovers have just scored a second goal away to UCD in their Dublin derby, so the defending champions now lead by 2-0. Elsewhere in the Premier League, coming up on 20 minutes played between Everton and Crystal Palace. It is goalless. The other games just underway in the last few minutes. Aston Villa 0, Burnley 0, and Chelsea were looking to secure third place 0-0 against Leicester. But it is time for us to return to our top story of today. History made in Turkey for the Irish boxing team. Previously, Michael Conlon, Kelly Harrington, Katie Taylor in the World Gold Medal Club for Irish boxing. Well, 2 more have joined, Lisa O'Rourke and also Amy Broadhurst, who had a golden hour in Istanbul for Ireland earlier today. Delighted to say that boxing journalist Gavan Casey is with us to have a look back. Gavan, how are you getting on?
I'm absolutely over the moon, Will. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. It was fantastic. I mean, the excitement kind of rolled one into another because we were so impressed, firstly, by Broadhurst's performance, to win on a unanimous decision and to be so comfortable across her final. And then O'Rourke steps between the ropes a little bit later on. And to me, it was a split decision 4-1, but also looked like she won, in my opinion, the first and the third round. We're meant to be nervous about finals. We're meant to have this nervy wait for the judges at the end. But yet both the Irish boxers boxed remarkably well in their respective finals.
They truly did. I actually felt as though both of them won every round in both fights, and that's not me doing it through green tinted goggles or anything. I just think objectively, at least from my vantage point, albeit it was on a YouTube link, there was no doubt about either verdict, which is a nice place to be in. We've been on the wrong end plenty of times of let's call them contentious decisions, and I think the opponents in this case from Mozambique in Lisa O'Rourke's final and from Algeria in Amy Broadhurst had absolutely zero complaints about either decision. And like you mentioned, it was a golden hour. I'm not sure how old you are, Will, but like I remember doing a piece with Wayne McCullough last year, and he was speaking about being at the Barcelona Olympics. He had just won silver, and he was sitting alongside his conqueror in the final from Cuba, Joel Casamayor, in a drug testing room, watching Michael Carruth win gold on a small screen in the corner of the room. And I just put myself in Amy Broadhurst's shoes, actually, as Lisa O'Rourke was fighting in that final. I hope Amy got to see it live while she was there. But I remember when Wayne was telling me at that time, I thought, what must that have been like for people watching at home to have had such excitement, 2 back-to-back fights, massive medal fights. And we experienced it today, and it was, I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say it eclipsed Barcelona, because that will have personal significance to many people listening, I'm sure. But it was certainly an hour in which both of the Irish protagonists actually came out superior, and just a marvellous day not only for Irish boxing but for Irish sport. I kind of fear that maybe in the afterglow of Kelly Harrington's Olympic gold, and more recently that magnificent night in New York where Katie Taylor beat Amanda Serrano, that this might be somewhat lost, or the magnitude of the significance of it might be lost, but it shouldn't be. This is a legendary day for Irish sport, not just boxing, and it was, week-changing, month-changing to watch it live.
Yeah, they were reunited on the podium just a few minutes ago. Liam Burton, who's coaching with Panama currently out there, got a picture with both Broadhurst and O'Rourke with their gold medals after they'd been presented. So they were able to stay around for each other's medal presentation too, which is fantastic to see. When it comes to the achievement here, did this come under the radar ever so slightly? Because the focus before the Women's World Championships was that Kelly Harrington had an injury and she wasn't going to go, and would have been a huge hope for Ireland. And while there was an expectation that this was a really strong team that had been put together, would the team have been thinking about 2 gold medals before they flew out?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the Irish boxing journalist Joe O'Neill, to whom I would often defer, mentioned before the tournament that he would have been over the moon really with a bronze medal. So to come away with 2 golds is not only unprecedented but totally unexpected. And just to give some context as well as to where these 2 fighters were coming from, like Amy Broadhurst is a supremely talented boxer and has been for several years. She has 19 Irish titles across all age grades. She actually has a senior English title as well. She qualifies through her father, and she's won 5 European medals across age grades as well, including 1 European bronze as a senior. So it's not as though this is a bolt from the blue type of victory from her, but the fact of the matter is that she has operated in the shadows of Kelly Harrington for the past 4 or 5 years. And I remember even, I think it was 2018, ahead of their senior final, the last time they actually met in the ring, I was going to say inadvertently stoked a bit of a war of words between them around that time.
Was there genuine animosity, Gavan, between them at the time?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not saying I created it, but I wanted to kind of unlock it a little bit because I thought it would be interesting. And not just me, by the way, but Irish boxing fans. And we've, a few journalists that would speak daily about these kinds of things. It would raise the profile of both of them and raise the profile of the elites and build a bit of a rivalry going forward. Now, as it transpired, Kelly had won that senior final and she went on to become a world champion. So Amy at the time mentioned that she was going to have to take a step back and almost pave the path for Kelly towards Tokyo, and she would have to wait in the wings for another Olympic cycle. Kelly didn't take kindly to that because she felt, well, what are you stepping back from? Like, you're not doing me any favours. I already beat you. That's the reason why we're in the situation we're in. They've since buried the hatchet, and Amy was over in Tokyo helping the team prepare for the Olympics. More recently, actually, incidentally, she was over in Connecticut as well, helping Katie Taylor prepare for another Southpaw and Amanda Serrano. But yeah, there was a little bit of animosity, which blew over, but it's just to add to kind of illustrate the magnitude again of the achievement by Amy Broadhurst. She's fighting up at a weight category that wouldn't be her natural weight at all. Her natural weight would be the same as Kelly's, which is 60 kg, but because Kelly is very much standing in the way and ruling the world at that weight division, Amy fought up at 63 kg. You can see even the dimensions between her and Iman Khalif, her opponent in today's final. Now, Khalif actually is a natural lightweight herself, but Amy's not big for that weight division.
She was given up, I think, was it like 13 centimetres in reach, give or take, which is a remarkable amount to give away.
Absolutely. And she'd actually be, like, just her dimensions, she'd be, fairly small actually for a lightweight, but the way she was able to calculate her way in and close the gap, use her footwork, find a home for her left hand. And it did take, 90 seconds or so in the first round before she kind of clocked what she needed to do against Khalif. And for her to do it up at that weight, win World Championship gold, it's just unbelievable. And I suppose to look forward briefly, if we dare, we now have the reigning Olympic champion at lightweight, the reigning world champion at light welterweight, vying for the same Olympic spot in Paris on the same Irish team. It's just unprecedented, and it's going to be a fun few years. Sorry, I say they're vying for the same Olympic spot. That's provided that Amy does feel the urge to challenge Kelly at this point. Exactly, yeah. 63 isn't an Olympic weight class, so she can either go for that 60 spot and compete with Kelly, or maybe look to 66. I personally think she's way too small for 66, and I wouldn't explore that.
Yeah, that is a difficulty. I mean, the jump between those 6 kilos is huge. Even when you said she's quite small at 63, add 3 more kilos onto it, you're coming up against much more physically imposing boxers at 66, which would make it very difficult to qualify. So then it effectively sets up, as you've just said, a 2-year cycle now where you're going to have 2 world-class boxers going for 1 spot for Paris in 2024, with all the expectation around this being Kelly Harrington's last Olympic Games too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that's provided that Broadhurst does want to do that, and she'll, I'm sure, when the dust settles, have her say on that. I'm not sure this time there'll be any animosity. I think there's a real respect between them already, and I'm sure Kelly tuning in today, her respect for Amy will have only grown. On paper, it could be this fabulous rivalry, and you'd hope actually that it would get the platform it deserves if they do meet in national finals down the line with Olympic spots, even Olympic qualification spots as in after qualifiers up for grabs. Let's have it on national TV. Maybe it's a conversation for another day. But just as well, just to give a little bit of context to the size of Lisa O'Rourke's achievement as well. Her story is almost directly in contrast to Amy's in a way, in the sense that Amy Broadhurst has been waiting in the wings, as I say, for several years. Lisa O'Rourke has not even won a national elite title yet, and now she's an elite world champion. And remarkably, back in October, she actually lost a national senior final to a woman called Evelyn Icaro. They rematched in the national under-22 final in February, and Lisa O'Rourke reversed that. So she got the nod then to go up to the European under-22s only 6-7 weeks ago. She wins that, and you think, wow, what a breakout talent. Like, this is one for the future. She could be a real star. And then 7 weeks later, she's champion of the world. It's just an unbelievable turn of events and speed of development from her. And by the way, she also plays in midfield for Roscommon, and her sister is a former European champion and Olympic boxer as well. So pretty decent family there, yeah. Yeah,
it's not bad. That's decent stock coming out of Castlereagh in County Roscommon. The other thing, we were talking about the finances on this. There's a big prize pot with just the money coming out of this is prize money, but also when it comes to funding over the rest of this Olympic cycle, this is possibly a life-changing day for both of them.
Yeah, 100%. So this would have been the first time, Will, where there was prize money at the end of World Championships. So both Lisa and Amy will have earned €86,000 for winning gold. They'd already incrementally increased their prize fund prize money by guaranteeing bronze and guaranteeing silver. They take home the top prize of 86k, which is massive for any amateur quote-unquote athletes who are preparing for an Olympics or even just trying to live day by day as a full-time athlete. Plus, as you mentioned then, because they finished on the podium, this was actually sealed as soon as they both won their quarterfinals. They'll have earned the top funding from Sport Ireland next year. So in 2023, they'll both be on 40 grand grants, which again will help them a huge amount. It gives them obviously a bit of an advantage over the chasing pack, but that's what you get. That's the reward for actually going and doing it and winning medals. So in terms of the power cycle, yeah, as you say, potentially life-changing in the sense that it lifts such of the weight off of their shoulders, that kind of weekly, monthly weight of having to actually have cash to live while also training ostensibly for free. And to have earned over €120,000, which will last them however long it lasts, is an absolute game changer for both of their young careers.
You mentioned the TV coverage, and I remember watching Worlds. I remember watching Katie, Kelly, Joe Ward when he was in the World Final, Conlon. They were all on TV at the time. This has been quite a departure not to have them on TV this time around, particularly when it could have been organised at short notice. Joe O'Neill, we mentioned earlier, had tweeted to say he was in Spain. He was all set to watch on YouTube. YouTube was then geo-blocked because Spanish national television had decided to show the finals earlier this afternoon, and he had to find a different means to watch it. Was it an opportunity missed here, given that we had such a good hour of Irish sport, that it would have been a very easy programme to actually put in the TV to say, we've got two girls coming through the ropes, potentially could win gold medals, and you would have had a captive Irish audience watching history being made just a couple of hours ago?
Not only do I think it was an opportunity missed, I actually find it embarrassing, Will, to be honest, that I would say almost undoubtedly both of them will be on the Late Late Show or whatever in the next couple of weeks, and they'll be serenaded and celebrated quite justifiably. But let's actually watch their fights. Let's give people an opportunity to see their fights. Like, this is one of the great days of Irish sport, and unless you were near a phone or a laptop, or and you need to be relatively tech savvy, I'd imagine, to find a link and whatever. I have a lot of elderly people or older people than myself getting onto me asking, where can I watch it? Whereas if it's on RTE or on terrestrial television, it's just a case of turning on your TV. And I think I find it farcical, actually, to be honest, that you go into your first Women's World Championships since the leading light in Irish amateur boxing won Olympic gold. And bearing in mind, Kelly Harrington was meant to fight in this tournament, and still it was never going to be on TV. I find that really strange, frankly. I think maybe boxing sometimes suffers for not necessarily just being a minority sport, but I appreciate it's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe it's a victim of its own success to a degree, and some of this is taken for granted, but it really shouldn't be. Like, we saw Kelly Harrington become literally a national hero on national television last summer. And today, in her absence, 2 more women put their hands up and joined the pantheon of Irish sporting greats. And I was watching it on a 6-inch screen. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Opportunity lost, as you put it, but I actually think it's worse than that. I think it's pretty disgraceful, to be honest.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, the episode of The Simpsons may well have been very good that it was competing with at the time, but I think, it feels like a mistake, and it feels like an awful pity, because there's a few sports, Gavan, that Ireland are really good at, and as you say, you can be a victim of your own success to a certain extent, but there was a reignition of excitement about boxing after everything that happened with Kelly Harrington. The next Olympics are going to creep around really quickly because it's a 3-year rather than 4-year cycle. I think a lot of Irish people would have liked to have had the opportunity to sit down in front of terrestrial TV at 5 o'clock this evening and be able to sit down and watch these 2 fights, because like, the office here is not reflective. Again, a bit like you, we were all sitting around with our phones out and our laptops out and watching it, and naturally that's going to happen with sports nerds. But to try and catch people who are outside of that group, to catch the general public who might just tune in for Ireland doing well, this could have been a case of making household names out of both O'Rourke and Broadhurst today.
Yeah, well, how many times would you say we've had moments in Irish sport where you actually look back upon them and you know exactly where you were, or you remember the emotion that you felt? Like, I think of Kelly Harrington, I think of Paul O'Donovan and Fintan McCarthy, obviously recently, but even Katie Taylor. For older people than myself, it'd be USA 94, Italia 90, if they weren't over there. That sort of sense of national occasion and that collective sense of release and relief when an Irish person gets over the line on the world stage. And these people go on to become sporting heroes. And the reason why I flagged at the top of the show that this may be lost compared to, say, Kelly or even Katie's fight, just because of the magnitude of that. I know it wasn't on terrestrial TV, but Katie is maybe a conversation outside of this. It just, it rankles. It rankles with me. It rankles with a lot of Irish boxing fans. And I think, as you say, Irish sports fans who actually were very much tuned in and knew exactly when the fighters were going to be walking to the ring today and knew where to watch it. Like, it's only a tiny portion of the population that actually would have been aware that it was happening on YouTube or that they could watch it. And it's hard to put the finger on why this is the case, I suppose. As you mentioned, maybe that repeat of The Simpsons just was just a little bit more important on this occasion. I failed to see how, but I think it's an issue that should be discussed more and addressed in advance of the Olympics. Like, it's a joke if you're just rolling around every 4 years. Oh, let's celebrate the boxers. Don't they do well every time? Like, well, how about actually platforming them in the 4 years in advance of an Olympics instead of just celebrating with them when they do something good on that stage? Like, and also,
I'd include the national finals in that too, by the way. I know TG have done a really good job in recent years of putting extensive coverage out of the national finals, but it's not that long ago that we got to know boxers like, say, Joe Ward going up against Kenny Egan, and it was on terrestrial TV and the excitement around that. And into that cycle, as we got ready for the London Olympics, we actually got to know a lot of these boxers as household names, because pretty much everyone sat down on the Friday night of the Nationals and watched the boxing. That hasn't been the case, and professional Irish boxers haven't been boxing on TV for quite some time. Now, that's complex and there's 100 million things around it, but at the same time, we haven't seen a huge amount of boxing on Irish TV over the last decade.
No, we haven't. As you say, the professional boxing conversation is slightly different in the sense that there isn't a concrete schedule. Fights are announced at, say, 2-3 months' notice. It's obviously incredibly expensive, by the way, to put on these broadcasts, particularly if you're going abroad and so on. Plus the fact that professional boxers have exclusive deals usually with the UK broadcaster, with an American broadcaster. Now, there is a chance, for example, that if Katie Taylor was to fight in Croke Park against Amanda Serrano in October, as has been mooted, there may be some state broadcast involvement with that. We don't know yet, but it's been done. Like, the broadcaster of DAZN has done that with fighters in other countries, where they almost it's almost a collaborative broadcast, if you like. But with the amateur stuff, we saw a lot of it on TV sort of up as far as 2016, and I'd say it's no coincidence really that the cutoff point was 2016 and the debacle that was Rio. And maybe it's understandable to a degree that given the cost involved and given the hassle involved for a broadcaster, that they might not necessarily want to go near boxing in the immediate aftermath of that. But like, as much as Irish boxing remains and will remain for some time an absolute mess behind the scenes, we've also had 2 Olympic medals since then. We've had multiple European Championship medals, loads of major international medals basically in the 6 years since. And this Women's World Championships was on the calendar for quite some time in advance of it. So yeah, it's I find it so disappointing. To my mind, as a boxing fan, like, forget about journalism or my job, like, I just would have loved for people to be tuning in and actually to appreciate what these 2 women did, but also not just today, like having an awareness of their journeys to this point. And the national finals were on TG4, I think 4 years ago, when Amy Broadhurst was beaten by Kelly Harrington and broke into floods of tears afterwards in her dismay. And like, if you tuned in then, maybe you're still aware of her now, but there's been sort of no linear platforming of these athletes to this point. Lisa work is different, obviously, she's newer on the scene, but just that awareness of the human story behind it is important, rather than watching a YouTube clip or a live YouTube broadcast for 9 minutes with a British commentator who's vaguely aware of the fighters and did a fine job, but there's just no background story to it, you know. And when you, again, I take it back to how many world champions have we had in Ireland in across all sports? Like, it's probably innumerable, but they still feel like hen's teeth in the grander picture of things. So it felt like a day that, yeah, could have been a lot bigger. And it's just as well we get to talk about them now, I suppose. We'll try and do them their dues here.
No, for sure. I was just thinking about Katie Taylor too. You obviously mentioned about it being mooted, the idea that Croke Park might be moving forward. And Jack Chambers was on News Talk earlier on the hard shoulder. He used the phrase initial engagements have taken place about, you know, Croke Park potentially being a venue for Serrano versus Taylor too. I get the feeling there is a momentum towards this, quite aside from the idea of politicians coming on and saying that the police have been engaged and there's conversations at government level. But just listen to Eddie Hearn, listen to Katie Taylor, even when she was interviewed before the Canelo fight. There seems to be this real feeling that they want to bring this to Croke Park now and that the conditions might be there for it to actually happen.
I think the wheels are definitely in motion. And I would say that there is a collective will for it to happen. I'd say some people behind the scenes are a little bit more enthusiastic about it than others. I would say that if Eddie Hearn is fully on board with it now, it would have taken a little bit of convincing actually for him to do it. I got the impression that maybe he felt Dublin might still be a little bit raw in the wake of the US sanctions on Daniel Kinahan and all of the other complications that you guys have covered on the show in the past with regards to actually putting on a big boxing event in Dublin. He just maybe got the sense, like, it was almost like he got cold feet, because I was in New York for Taylor